Welcome to this meeting of the Biloxi City Council on April 2nd, 2024. Everyone please rise for the invocation by Pastor Jason Davis.
Let us pray. God, we thank you for today. We thank you for the opportunity to come before your throne of grace. God, we thank you for you being so good. Thank you for allowing us to serve the citizens and visitors of Biloxi. God, we ask that you bless all the leaders as we continue to bring you glory. God, let this meeting bring you joy, bring you glory. Let it bring edification to this city. We'll be careful to give you all the glory. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Mr. Gines, will you lead us in pledge?
Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, being that there is a change to the agenda, to have a motion to amend the agenda.
Moved. I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Lawrence, seconded by Mr. Gines. All in favor? I take it unanimous votes? No? Oh, 6-1. Ms. Carey, will you read those changes?
To the consent agenda, we're adding item 5K, resolution authorizing entry into stadium naming rights agreement with Keesler Federal Credit Union, and adding 5L, resolution authorizing entry into amended and restated marquee use agreement with Keesler Federal Credit Union.
I'll move the agenda as amended.
I'll second.
Right. Motion by Mr. Lawrence, seconded by Mr. Gines to motion as amended. All in favor? 6-1. This brings us to the presentation agenda. Mr.
Thank you,
Mayor.
Madam President. I have a couple of proclamations to do, but welcome everyone to our April set of meetings, and this is a very special month. Cynthia Chauvin, I asked from CASA to come up and let me present this proclamation on behalf of the city. Anybody else would want to come up with you too? But anyway, this proclamation: children are our future success, prosperity, and quality of life. Children are also our most vulnerable assets. Whereas all children deserve to have the safe, stable, nurturing homes and communities that need to foster their healthy growth and development. Whereas CASA of South Mississippi supports and promotes a court-appointed volunteer advocacy so every child who has experienced abuse or neglect can be safe and have an opportunity to thrive. Through a national effort, Biloxi community members are encouraged to join together to raise awareness for those children falling victim to abuse and neglect throughout the month of April. This effort will give abused and neglected children in our community and around the county a chance for a safe and positive future. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Fofo Gillich, Mayor of Biloxi, Mississippi, do hereby proclaim the month of April as Child Abuse Prevention Month. Thank you so much, and congratulations. And I'll give you the microphone. Yeah, oh, you want to do that?
You got it? Okay. Yeah. Good?
Thank you, Cynthia.
Yes, sir. I know there's a packed agenda, and I don't want to take much time, but I'd be remiss if I didn't say that child abuse and neglect continues to exist because our community struggles to have those conversations about the dark side of neglect and abuse. The majority of the cases in Harrison County that come before youth court involve children who have been neglected as a direct result of substance abuse or addiction. And these children are largely under the age of 12 years old. Proclaiming April Child Abuse Prevention Month is a huge opportunity for us to talk about our work. And I will tell you, as of today, there are 249 children in Harrison County in foster care. That's 249 too many, but we recognize that when children need to come into foster care, they need a voice, someone to speak up on their behalf. Currently, of those 249, we are, as a nonprofit organization, committed to advocating for these children through the use of volunteers. We are serving 92 of the 249. We need people like the people in the room today to stand up and consider becoming CASA volunteers. It takes about 8 to 10 hours a month to do this very unique volunteer service, but I can promise you it changes the trajectory of our children's lives and the fabric of this county and this city. As of today, 30 of the 92 children that we are serving are from Biloxi. So I feel really strongly that we should be able to serve all of the children of Biloxi and Harrison County. So if anyone is interested in considering becoming a CASA volunteer, you can go to our website, casasouthms.org, or you can call our office. We are CASA of South Mississippi, and we are serving Harrison, Hancock, and Stone counties. I would also like to encourage everyone in the room to consider attending an open community awareness event next Thursday evening from 5:30 to 6:30 at the Knight Nonprofit Center, where our district attorney will be there to give special remarks and where we will remember the plight of our community's abused and neglected children, but also recognize several volunteers, several professionals who are gone above and beyond to protect our community's children. So if you have an invitation, please join us, and please know that we thank the city for your ongoing support of our work. We could not do it without you.
Thank you, Cynthia, for everything. All right, I think John Jopling and his whole group could come up here so we could present this. I got to put glasses on because the font is a little bit too. We got so much to say here, John.
Okay.
So it's great to have everyone here, but this is a very special honor on your future days and work that you've done here. So this proclamation, the city of Biloxi honors the work of John C. Jopling, Esquire, a dedicated catalyst for change whose extensive all right, John, I'm all right. Okay, whose extensive knowledge, expertise, and unwavering commitment to social, racial, and economic justice have significantly benefited the communities across Mississippi. Whereas John graduated from the University of Mississippi and first served as a clinical professor at Ole Miss's Housing Law Clinic, where he prepared future generations of attorneys focused on housing justice and equality. John helped launch the Mississippi Center for Justice's Katrina Recovery Office in Biloxi, established to provide legal assistance to thousands of residents who suffered from damaged or destroyed homes due to Hurricane Katrina. He helped lead a landmark challenge to a settlement in which $132 million was set aside for low-income households in 9 Mississippi counties. John, while serving as MCJ's housing law director and managing lawyer, has actively addressed discriminatory housing gaps in affordable, fair, and public housing options, ensuring that people from all races and income levels can access quality housing. He has tirelessly fought to educate the community about their rights under the Fair Housing Act and through direct legal services. The city of Biloxi commends John C. Jopling for his unceasing devotion to advocate for reconciliation, justice, and equality. The city of Biloxi expresses profound appreciation for his outstanding contributions made during his 20 years of service and extends its best wishes as he approaches his well-earned retirement. Now, therefore, I, Andrew Fofo Gillich, Mayor of the City of Biloxi, with sincere appreciation for John's tireless efforts in advancing the welfare of our community, do hereby proclaim the 2nd day of April 2024 as John C. Jopling Day. That was a mouthful. What, no. Congratulations. Thank you all for this.
Sure.
Ma'am, if you would come on.
What a treat. Thank you so much.
Oh,
This is
thank you
great.
so much.
No, thank you. Great.
If you care. Thank you.
So thank you so much, Mr. Mayor. This is really, really a big honor. You know, we did open the Gulf Coast office of the Center for Justice just 3 weeks after Hurricane Katrina. And although we've served throughout the coast, certainly the lower 6 counties, and then extended our work up into the rest of the state, it's our relationship with the city of Biloxi and the work in this municipality that is most memorable and most special to us, because the city of Biloxi, number one, supported our work, and number two, we work and live in the city of Biloxi, and our relationships with treasured community members and other community organizations are largely centered in the city. So thank you, and thank the city, and thank the entire community. It's a great honor.
almost finished. I think what I'd ask the council to spread the expenses of the Biloxi travel credit card to the minutes. And that concludes my report.
All right.
Thank you.
Do we have a departmental report today? If not, we move on to council reports. Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, I hope everybody had a great Easter weekend, beautiful weather. We had a softball tournament with Keisa played at Suckers. They packed a lot of people there. A lot of people went. It turned out to be a good event for the stadium in the city of Biloxi. And all our sports going on with the city, Little League, everybody, a lot of action, a lot of great, I know our ball fields, although we wasn't using so much, the Todd Megad, Savara, they all lit up and they looking great. And everybody having places to practice without any problem. So that's a good thing. And also added to that is the Senior Olympics. Roughly 1,000 people involved in those games throughout the city. That's been a big event for the city of Biloxi, so that's a good thing. Thank you.
Mr. Guines?
Yes, I want to thank Ms. Sherry Bell for getting the parks ready. Had a great, fantastic Easter with the second liners there in the Henry Beck Park. I wanted to ask the mayor and CAO about the Lighthouse Pier. I was asked that today in the Rotary meeting. Are we making any progress in working with the county and getting that repaired? And is there a time frame? Is what I keep getting asked.
It's working. We're working with FEMA. We had a conference call with the FEMA site manager who's working on the estimate. They're trying to confirm the numbers in the estimate. I don't know why after all this time they're doing that still. But we gave a pretty good little push, the mayor did, with the senators and with our representative. And our representative Ezel actually met with FEMA.
Gotcha.
And you know, it all kind of goes downhill from there.
Don't say
So-
go downhill.
In terms of the word was help Biloxi. And so I think we're getting closer to getting that estimate that we need. Now, where we're going with this, Councilman, is that once we have that estimate, let's say we get what we asked for, and that was a $1.1 million estimated price to rebuild the pier. At that point, we still have a $4 million
Project.
project. Well, we still have a $4 million loan sitting over in the bank, line of credit that we could draw on. But we can't do that until we have the grant. And that's what's been the holdup all this time.
Let me add a little bit too, Mike, as far as the 1.1 or 1.2 million, now, that was an as-was replacement of that pier. Mitigation that was allowed after Zeta was that they would give you an additional, whatever 100% of the as-was replacement, they would give you another, say 1.1 or 1.2, they would match it up another 1.2, so that would eat up, some of that $4 million project. And again, that question was verifying that the engineering firm, Seymour Engineering, bolt by bolt and board by board, came up with that, and they're going to verify that as 1.2 million, and that provides at least of the 4 million, 2.2 or 2.4 million, and that's the hang up. Then we go forward with pushing the rest of the project, but it'll be it's an 800-foot pier that we're going to replace. 320-foot would be a breakwater from the bulkhead out to a point, and then flow-through decking, concrete pier. So it's we won't have to replace that pier again, and that's the push. So we've been fighting this for 3 years, and FEMA's FEMA, and MEMA's MEMA, and here we are. But we're hopeful, because we've got everyone's attention over the last few weeks with Senator Wicker and Congressman Mike Ezell, as well as Region 4 of FEMA. So we're pushing.
All right, thank you. And one more thing, someone inquired about the signage at the Civic Center. It's been out for quite a while. Can we look at the possibility of seeing what it'll take to fix it, even if it means just replacing it and putting it in next year's budget?
No, we'll do that. We'll fix that as well. There's some, I think, some of the lights along Howard Avenue have been out, and that's Mississippi Power's lights, so there may be some subsurface stuff that may impact that.
So if a transformer blew and that may have been the cause of it, And I know
That whole
Mississippi
section of
Power.
light from on Howard Avenue, on the north side of Howard Avenue is out.
So there may be some reimbursement as far as that go.
When they follow up on the pier, the problem is the design or
No.
the money paying for it?
No, the problem is they wanted the first iteration, we came with this engineering opinion of probable cost to replace it as was. To replace a wooden pier, 800 feet long, we came up with 1.2 million, hopeful that we would get another 1.2 million, so we got 2.4 million. Well, they came back and questioned us and did and they said it would take 222,000 to replace it as was, which is all wet. And that's, we challenged that and appealed that. And so that's the point where, hey, this is, what's wrong with what we submitted. And actually, we will be bidding the as-was replacement at the same time we bid the new one. So FEMA has told us we will actually pay, they'll pay the actual cost. So we don't have to, it's not a fixed $4 million project. Whatever it costs to replace it, whatever it costs to replace the as-was, it will be the match. So we're not, at this point, we're hopeful and we want to keep pushing. So it's a large project. That's what happened. The $222,000 that they came back after we submitted the 1.2 million, put it in a small project group, and it's certainly a large project. And I think they confirmed that it is a large project, which gives us a little bit more flexibility.
And there's no reason not to build it back as a concrete better pier.
That's right.
Because it's the fourth time in the last 15 years.
That's right.
That we rebuilt this pier.
We even had to come up, I think, on Cristobal, we fix it. Tanya and the whole, federal group has replaced each time we fixed it, what we fixed it with. We did heavier, bolts and screws and that sort of thing to put it together. So we accounted for all of that. I mean, it was a stack of information that we sent them real thick. So there's no question. It would cost, $1.2 million to put it back out there was, at least. That was 3 years ago.
Yeah.
What would it be today? So.
Now, I'm like you, do it right.
No,
Let's get it right.
we don't
build a
want to rebuild it
concrete
again.
pier.
That's
Right.
it.
That's a big pier, used a lot. Thank you.
Yes.
Okay, that concludes my report.
Mr. Deming?
Since we're talking about piers, I know we talked about floating docks at the Causeway. Any update on doing floating docks over there?
Well, we did, the floating docks, so you're talking about by Ewell's place, that was the $222,000 that was in place right now.
Right.
Yeah, and now we hadn't talked about expanding that or putting it in additional places, but that project is in place. But I think that's what you see behind, on the north side of Ewell's is where people come in when they're smaller boats. And there may be some opportunity if we can chase some funding like Gold Mesa or Tidelands to replicate that. The floating docks, if you really if you take a trip to the Point Cadet Marina, it's very impressive what they've done so far, and that represents about 1/3, and 27 slips, I think, that are in place there. So that's the technology I think that we need to go with as far as piers and those facilities.
Right. Sticking on the boat topic, Peter, did you check with Public Works or with engineering regarding the boat ramp at the end of Mercedes? I know that the pothole was fixed, but I don't know if any repairs were done to the boat ramp or if they were necessary. I know we talked last meeting and you were going to talk to the departments.
Yeah, I still need to confirm with Christie a couple of other things regarding the plat. So I think in 2 weeks we'll have a firm answer.
Okay, thank you. And Christie, I know you're here. I think Ms. Labata, I think I saw you over there somewhere. I don't need you to come up to the podium, but Monte Vista, one of the roads in my ward, are you familiar with it? If you give me a call one time, I'd just love to go out there and see if there's anything we can do to improve the conditions of that road without a huge expenditure. Is she not here? Oh. There's a lady over here with black hair, and that's all I can see. So I assumed it was her. I'm sorry.
You don't know the answer to that question? We'll give you a week.
I can just see black hair.
Give her 2 weeks. There's another lady over there with black hair too.
She always sits over here, so I assumed. I'm sorry for the assumption.
Get on it.
I will give her a call. personally, not you. I will give the real Labata a call, and that's all I have.
All right, Mr. Tisdale?
Yes, thank you. Congratulations again to John Joplin for a job well done. I've listened to him speak several times, and he's quite knowledgeable and quite good at his job. I'd also like to congratulate Peter Broussard, who is recognized by the Biloxi Elks as their Elk of the Year this year. I also wanted to thank, we had about 90 people at the Ward 5 meeting last Wednesday, and most of the directors were there, and I'll have a summary of that ward meeting up as soon as I can get a video that's being processed by the public affairs folks. Also, there are some traffic delineators between the south end of Pops Ferry Bridge and Atkinson Road and Old Bay. They've been there for a while, a number of years now. They may just need reflective tape. They're not reflecting like they used to. I'm not reflecting like I used to, but they're not either. And I do want to remind everybody that we've got a workshop 2 weeks from today after our April 16th council meeting dealing with employee compensation. And that concludes my report. Thank you, Mr. President.
Mr. Glavin?
Thank you, Madam President. I just got a couple of things. I hope everyone had a wonderful Easter. It was certainly, the weather cooperated, and it certainly reminds us what the meaning of Easter is, beyond the Easter egg hunts and beyond the nice dinners that we have. And, he died for our sins, and it's certainly a special day to understand that, the meaning of it. I just have one thing, and this also is revolving around dredging, Brazier Bayou, Sunrise Court in that area. Permits, as I've seen on the engineering report, have been pulled, seem to be approved, and all we're waiting for is the funding piece for the dredging projects along Brazier Bayou.
Yep.
Sunrise, is that the only piece we're waiting for?
Need to ask Christie.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as you know, I'm going to be having a ward meeting coming up. I've already been approached by several people about updates, and I told them in a couple months I'd try to give a more accurate assessment of exactly where it's at. It's just a very general comment on her engineering report that says the permits are approved. We don't have any issues with SAVs in that area because all that vegetation died. Now it's, I think, a matter of just pinpointing the funding for those bayous. I see a lot of dredging going on in Jackson County along their bayous and everything, and that's great for them. But it'd be good to kind of kickstart some of those projects that have been pending for some time. That concludes my report.
Mr. Shoemaker?
Just one thing, the Eagle Point Park, the new lights out there, they're fully operational now. The track, the walking track, those lights will come on. You don't have to turn those on, they come on automatically. During summer months, about 7 o'clock, they'll be turned off about 10 o'clock. Winter months, they're gonna come on around 5 or so, and again, they'll be turned off at 10. All that's automatic. If those times don't work out, they can be adjusted somewhat a little bit. If they need to come on earlier or stay on a little bit later. The lights at the pickleball court, basketball court, and the field, those will be able to be turned on. If somebody's out there, they can turn them on to use them when they're playing basketball, and then when they're finished, they can turn them off. So they're not on all the time, just whenever anybody needs them on. And but those are fully, I know the last week or so, they had been in kind of a test phase, but I think all the kinks have been worked out and everything's working fine from what I've been told. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, the moment we've all been waiting for. Citizen comments. This is not the public hearing just yet. This is citizen comments. After citizen comments, we will have the public hearing and hear from the event applicants. Hopefully they're here. So we have a total time allotted of 45 minutes. Each person gets 3 minutes each to speak on any topic that they choose. Once you sit here at the desk, please sign your name and address as well as state it aloud for the record. Anyone on my left, your right, that would like to get up and speak? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Zelita Barnes, and I live at 383 Magnolia Street Ward 2, Biloxi. And I rose to address the council on behalf of Ms. Kay Horn, who has been appointed by the mayor as a school board member. I would like to admonish the council to please affirm her appointment. I believe she is an asset to the city of Biloxi, especially as she looks out for the welfare of all of the children of the city of Biloxi. I also would like to speak on behalf of the special committee that denied the Black Spring Break ordinance or request for a juncture here or an event. I believe it was this time last year that I addressed the council and asked for this special events committee, and that committee was in order to assure the safety of all citizens when they come to the city. I do not believe that that committee was organized to deny the event, but to assure the ones that do come that they are welcome and that they will be safe. And so I speak on behalf of that request that that event will make sure that it is safe for all citizens. For the first time, I cruised the coast. I started at the Ocean Springs Bridge and I went all the way down to the Bees Road. And I saw people all along Highway 90 who were gathered safely. They were cooking out, they were having fun. And I believe that's what these people that's coming to Biloxi will be doing, just coming to have fun and to make sure that they're having a good time. So again, I speak on their behalf and I say that we should be a city that welcomes all events equally to our Mississippi Gulf Coast. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else on my left, your right, that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am? 1 second. 1 second, sir. You can be next.
No. Okay, my name is Julie Pickett. I'm not good at these kind of things, so I have it all written down. We live, my husband and I, at 275 Iroquois Street. We are here about case number 24-012 PC. Okay, 4D on your agenda. We are vehemently opposed to the property adjacent to us being rezoned for business, okay? We purchased our property as a zoned residential property surrounded by properties also zoned residential. We're a small historic neighborhood. Our streets are sandwiched between Howard and Division, and the city has worked tirelessly to maintain the historic residential status and appeal of the area. We have every confidence that the city would continue to protect our neighborhood when we bought our home. There are numerous properties much more appropriate to house a construction business, which is what is being touted as the business. It will destroy a lot of family life for a lot of people to have a business in our neighborhood. It will destroy the fabric of the neighborhood. We have children that ride their bikes, scooters. We have elderly people who walk their dogs every day. On a personal level, the introduction of a business next door will negatively affect the value and desirability of our property. The pool of prospective buyers would decrease greatly, and we don't know how long they would even be there. And that opens us up to all kinds of businesses. Then you're looking at a restaurant backed up against your fence that we just put in. You're looking at a daycare, a massage therapy. I mean, all these things are listed under the residential business. And we feel that it's an encroachment in our neighborhood, and it's definitely a detriment to our neighborhood. and we just want to feel safe in our home. And I'm not going to feel safe with my grandchildren playing in my yard with continuous strangers coming next door, no matter what the business is, okay? I really appreciate you guys listening to us, but I feel like we've been asked to hold our house to a certain level, and it's expected to maintain that historic residential era. We would like the same in return.
Thank you, dear. Anyone else on my left, your right, that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Good evening. My name is Jonathan Green. I'm a resident at 151 Grandview Drive, and executive director of the Steps Coalition here in Biloxi. I'm here to offer my support for Kay Horn's reappointment to the school board of the city of Biloxi, and would just respectfully ask that the city council reappoint her. Kay is a pillar of our community. She has had a lifelong career working with children and supporting education, and we think that it would be very good for the city, good for our children, and an honor for the city of Biloxi to have Ms. Horn on the board. Thank you.
Anyone else on my left, your right, that would like to speak? Yes, sir.
Sorry, take me a little bit, old body, new knee.
Oh, right there, babe. On the.
The mic right there, there you go.
All right, well, can everybody hear me?
Yeah.
I guess so. Thanks.
Please sign your name and address on the paper and state it out loud for the record as well.
All right, my name is James Pickett. I live at 275 Iroquois Street, Biloxi, Mississippi, and I'm here to talk about the rezoning over into a limited business right on my property line. The only thing that I have to say is I played by the rules. When I presented my fence at the Historic Society, my fence went from $6,000 to almost $14,000 to fit with the character of the historic neighborhood where we bought. I followed all the rules. And then we find out they wanted to open up the bar, but a bar at first, but thanks to our councilman in Ward 1, he kind of tabled that, but now they want to switch it around. And like my wife said earlier, what business is coming up further? And what struck me today when I was doing my physical therapy is I was walking through my neighborhood, and you know what I seen? Caution, children playing everywhere. That's what I seen. And then the other thing that they never took in account, we have American bald eagles nesting in my yard, right next, 15 feet away from their property line. How is that going to affect them? Now, I know a lot of people aren't patriotic. I am. I'm retired military. And I think that's a symbol of our country. But I really do not want, and the other thing I was excited about is that pretty little white house on the corner. They were going to refurbish it. I was tickled because that was a pretty little house. We were looking at it first, but we decided on the one right next door to it. I have no problem if they want to refurbish that house and sell it as a residential property. But I really think you are going to destroy the fabric of that neighborhood. And the only other thing I have to say is the Historic Society told us, what are the neighbors going to have to look at when you build your fence? This is why it has to be to this standard. My question is, when I stand out on my back porch, what do I have to look at? And so with that, that's pretty much all I have to say, except I am vehemently opposed to that being redesignated as a limited business zone. And in my closing statement, if this was anywhere on Seal Street, would we even be sitting here talking about it now? I don't think so. Thanks.
Please sign your name and address on the paper. Thank you, dear. Anyone else on my left, your right, that would like to speak? Yes, ma'am.
Good evening. My name is Angela Bell. I live on 206 Brown Street, Biloxi, Mississippi. I am asking for the council support for Ms. Kay Horn, for her to be reinstated, I'm getting nervous, for her to be stated back as the for the city's stuff. Because Kay, I've known Kay my whole life, and she's a very reputable, upstanding woman, and she is very good with the kids of the city and all the things that she's done. Also considering her father. Also, as for the baseball field, I think Kay is an upstanding citizen, and also for the Black Spring Break, that beach belongs to everyone. So I give support for those people, those children, because I done got old now.
Anyone else on my left, your right, that would like to speak? Come on down.
How y'all doing? My name is Sabrina May, and I just got two questions. I watched 2 ribbons get cut for a recreation center. I've been coming up to these council meetings over 10 years for a recreation center, something to go on in the second ward for our kids. The spring break going on, I've been out there all week feeding the kids, doing the Easter thing. I've been doing it for years. But I just want to know what time frame or what we got going on. It's 19 years after Katrina. Our kids have nothing to do. It's on spring break. They talk about the park, but that's all they got to go to. You know what I'm saying? When is somebody gonna step up or do something about our children that need somewhere to go? Because the Croc Center only give you a $25 off. But if you got 3 kids, it's $150, $100. That's not nothing. We need somewhere for these kids to go. We need some kind of building, some kind of something for our children that we are losing to the streets. We need somewhere for these kids to go. I know y'all seen my face many times. I've started asking the same question. 19 years after Katrina, with breaking revenue, 3 years of 9 casinos, we still have nowhere for our children to go. Nothing for our kids to do. Nothing but trouble to get into. It's homeless kids out there that's 13 and 14, can't go to school. They on the streets. They look for the streets as they family. Can somebody have some kind of time frame or some kind of situation and take this serious? You know what I'm saying? I understand the bridges, the roads and all this, but the kids should count. The kids should matter. I've been up here for years and years and years. Can anyone answer that question for me? Anyone? Good question. Nobody has the answer. We cut the ribbon. They say they don't got the funding for this, they ain't got the funding for this. But they got funding for everything but a youth center for our kids in the second ward. We have nothing, absolutely nothing. And people come, they help, second lines, they come in certain situations. But this is a daily process that I, myself, and a few more people take care of. We don't get no donations. We don't get no money funded. We don't get none of that. We just do it from the heart. All I'm asking is, when are we going to be taking serious about our children having somewhere to go or somewhere to be besides the streets? Thank you. Have a nice day.
Anyone else on my left, your right, that would like to speak? Anyone? All right. Anyone on my right? Yes, sir.
My name is Jerry Gammons. I live at 132 Edgewater Drive in Biloxi. I would like to respectfully ask the council to not override and to not approve the spring break permit. This is a very adverse function that totally disrupts the city and the residents that live here. This group has no respect for our city, our residents, or our police department. This event's been turned down from other cities, including Atlanta, Georgia, who has much greater resources to accommodate an event of this size than Biloxi and our police department. Last year, we had a murder shooting, and the next day, numerous people were shot, including a Biloxi police officer. Everyone knows 5,280 linear feet is a mile. 6,900 feet is how far a 9mm bullet travels. Now that's over 1.25 miles or over 24 football fields. So it's the distance basically from the mall to the other side of the Treasure Bay Casino. I live a block away from last year's shooting event. I could literally have been mowing my yard in the front yard and dropped dead from a bullet hitting me in the head and killing me on the spot from that careless shooting. Is this the type of environment the City Council of Biloxi wants to be known for and tolerate? I don't think so. This isn't a racial issue. It's a matter of good common sense and safety. Please don't approve this and allow this fiasco to continue. Mayor Gillage and Chief Miller have put up with this for years, and after last year, this needs to stop. This situation reminds me very simply of September 11th after the attack on the United States Capitol. The entire House and Senate, regardless of which side of the aisle you're on, everybody was in agreement, 100%. We support you. Whatever you need to do, we're going to take care of it. Sadly, after only a few months away, this wore down and politicians began to soften their stance. Our council, much like the folks in Washington, just after last year, y'all are unanimous. Chief, whatever we need, we're behind you 100%. We'll do whatever it takes. Now we're having second thoughts about it and considering double down to try again. We've already lost one Biloxi police officer, bless his heart, to a punk thug, and we don't need to lose another officer to a careless shooting. Ladies and gentlemen, I'm asking you, no, I'm begging you, please do not approve this event. Anyone who votes to approve this event should be ashamed to look a police officer in the face and say, we support the local police. Thank you for your time.
Anyone else on my right, your left, that would like to get up and speak? Yes, ma'am.
Hi, my name is Heidi Hoy. I live off of Glen Sweatman Street in Biloxi. I'm asking the mayor, I'm actually begging you to do something about the housing situation for the homeless people in this area. There are housing challenged people that someone just spoke about, young people that are getting into it. There's a lot of homeless that are have been in the military, have mental health issues. The city needs to do something about these homeless people, and they need a shelter, an overnight shelter to go to. They need to have steps in order to get back to normal living in society. And I'm asking you, Mayor, to do something about that. Some of the members of your council have come to the meetings on the homeless town hall meetings that we've had, the Blues Club, and they have also said, we need to get you involved. Thank you.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am.
Okay, my name is Brandolyn Sanders. I'm a new resident to Mississippi. I'm a Mississippian this year. And I love the coast. I would ask the council to not deny the Black Spring Break activities. I know the shooting and stuff was bad last year, but that's just a one-off incident. It can happen anywhere. We do need somewhere to congregate, and Black Spring Break weekend is actually a historical weekend. That is the weekend that the Civil Rights War happened on the beach, when the beach was segregated and it was no longer segregated. We have to keep that piece of the history. Now, next year, I have partnered with all of the event people that's doing it this year, and we're gonna revamp Spring Break for next year. We're gonna call it Gulf Coast Spring Break instead of Black Spring Break. So if you can work with us and allow that permit to go through this year, We guarantee you that we will make it safer next year, and we will have more community involvement, and we will also involve the city. We will have events where we can give back to the homeless community and the foster kids as well. Because we're actually doing an event this weekend for disabled veterans and foster kids that we're going to donate to through the VFW. So if you could please consider not denying the permit and just giving us a chance to revamp it for next year, we would be more than welcome to accommodate the council and also accept feedback of what you want us to do to better the city, to help out, like with the police officers. We can subsidize some of that. We probably can give $5,000, $10,000 to the city for that. So, but we have to know what's needed beforehand and not at the last minute. So if the council could please consider that and work more with us instead of against us, we can make this a great, successful event because it is a historic event. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Yvonne Harrison. I live at 149 Acacia in Biloxi. First, I'd like to second Mrs. Hoy's statement with regard to the need for an overnight shelter for those experiencing homelessness. There's none on the Mississippi coast. In the meantime, we need to have some kind of an emergency shelter available for the hot weather. Last year, there were 9 deaths related to weather for people experiencing homelessness. We know the weather is getting hotter. We see that with our unusual temperatures, extreme heat. We provide a space for these people in the extreme cold, but not in the extreme heat. It's going to take a while to have overnight shelter, but we have time now to put in provision for some kind of manner for extreme heat safety. We don't want to have these deaths on our watch. Secondly, I'd like to speak in favor of the Black Spring Break. I live a block from the beach. I'm used to beach traffic, from cruising the coast, scraping the coast, just about anything you do on that coast, even on a Saturday or Sunday, late in the afternoon. It's busy on the coast. I have concern that I want people to be safe. I want our police officers to be safe. I want our visitors to be safe. I want our families that live here to be safe. But I know shootings have occurred at the Black Spring Break, at cruising the coast. It happens. As we have more and more guns in this country, in this state, in this city, it's just going to happen. I have particular concern about a report from in 2020 from the Southern Poverty Center, where identified that there's more covert action by the League of the South looking to strike down Black events, covert racism, and we've had to wait in here. Biloxi's worked long and hard for civil rights. We want to end the Black Spring Break is a great way to celebrate that. We don't want to go backwards. We want to show how we can be safe, because Biloxi can do that. I know, I've only lived here a short time, but I've seen the commitment to community and to the people and the love of the neighbor. So we need to be able to step forward and find a way to make it safe. Thank you.
Anyone else? My right, your left, that would like to get up and speak? Yes.
Good evening. My name is Darren Byes. I live at 2627 Rue Palafox, part of Paul Tisdale's ward. A couple of things I'd like to talk about. One is the homeless. They're sleeping 1 block from my house, behind the old Hobby Lobby. I've got pictures of them sleeping out on the road, on Pass Road, right in front of the old Hancock Fabrics. They are on Rue Pettyboy, sleeping right on the ground. I don't want that around my house. There's 3 officers that I was told that work from White Avenue to the Bees. It's not enough. Recently, there was spray paint on the back of the Hancock Fabric Building. Gang signs. I don't want to live like that. I didn't move over here in 2002 to live in that type of area. I went and took my own money and a piece of the paint down to Home Depot, got a 4-inch roller and some paint, and I painted over the gang signs. I don't want to live in that. My girlfriend, she's afraid to go jogging and walking. So we need more police in that area. Chief Miller just stated the other night at Paul's meeting that they're trying to get officers. Let's get some from other departments. Let's get some from other states that want to come here in a nice, safe area and work. As far as traffic and speed, I've brought up several times, like for a speed hump to go over. I was told that it damages cars. In Mobile, there is a oval shape, a piece of concrete on this side, piece of concrete on the other, where you have to go around it. I'm tired of seeing folks fly down Rue Palafox. And during spring break, it's even worse. They come flying through there, they'll mash the gas just as hard as they can. And I live a block too. But just like Miami, when you cause problems, you end the event. It's too much. When I called last year and told them about the speeders and the reckless driving and sliding around the corner, dispatcher told me, guess what? It's an event. I can't go out of my house to go for a walk. She can't go walking, can't take the dogs, because somebody's going to come flying through there and run over somebody. It's time to end that event, because there's no event like this one. You don't see people with kids on the side of the road like you do the cruisers, the jeepers, any other event. It's time to put a stop when you have too much problem. The police don't want to work it. We can't get them to do traffic control for that event. It's too much. Miami told the spring breakers, everybody, white, black, everybody, enough is enough. It's too much problem. These aren't college kids. I've been down here since 2002, and I was here when the first spring break come. Worked over at Treasure Bay.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Your
Yes,
3 minutes
ma'am.
are up. Anyone else on my left, your right, that would like to get up and speak? Okay, sure.
My name's Maurice Bryant, address 710 Lynn Road. I wasn't gonna speak, but I heard something that kind of disturbed me, so I'm gonna say something. Number one, the mere fact that some citizens can get up and compare spring break to 9/11 and the Capitol, it's ridiculous. As a veteran, it upsets me. That's number one. Not as a promoter, not as anything else. It shows the great divide that still exists in our community. Man, that really upset me. I can't believe it, actually. Number two, events come to Biloxi, and I'm talking about spring break, cruising the coast, scraping, jeeping. We'll have another one next year, I'm sure. Tomorrow might be another event. Speeding was brought up. It happens every day, definitely during cruising, during spring break. All these things that are being brought up is just pick and tooth, basically. At the root of this, there was a committee that was formed, and I spoke before this board last year, and I hoped that there would be more openness on the committee members. One more thing I'd like to speak out against is I don't think the chief should have been involved on the committee. He should have been definitely someone who had input, but definitely not on that committee. There's just a great divide here. It's a black eye to Biloxi. It really shows off. I'm just putting it out there. The event was put out there. There was a press release. I guess there was a permit that was denied. It wasn't put out like that. It was put out as Black Spring Break denied in Biloxi. I've gotten a lot of phone calls, and it just doesn't look good. There was definitely better ways to do that. And that's just what I want to say about it. Probably could have said a lot more, but it's just very disheartening.
Anyone else? Yes, ma'am?
Good evening. I'm Dr. Gwendolyn Catchings. I live at 316 Raynard Street in Biloxi. And I'm here on a different note this time, Mr. Creel. I'm not to complain about the Community Development Department. But let me just say, I'm here to support Kay Horn for reappointment to the school board. And as a retired educator, I will tell you, you're doing a disservice to the children of Biloxi by stalling on this reappointment. Because that means the school board is not operating with a full set of members. Now, that's going to be on you, all of you who sit here and let this go on and on and on. I read the information. The appointment is supposed to start March 1st. Okay? So we're already behind in making that appointment, which means the board is not fully functioning, because you can't do that minus a member. Now, that's Kate. And I do hope that you guys approve that tonight, so I don't have to come back again to go through this meeting process again. But let me just say something else to you. As I said, I'm a doctor, academic doctor. I'm a retired college professor. I taught at Jackson State. I taught at Valley State. These are my children that come to spring break. They're my children. And you know what? I love them all. They've been the best kids in the world, because I understand Black culture, and I understand how Black kids party and have a good time. They may party different than your kids do, but don't deny them the right to come and party because they do things differently than what you do. I live on Raynard Street. When Mardi Gras and that parade goes down Caveat, I have all kind of stuff coming up Raynard Street all day and all night. When the auto show and all the other stuff comes, I have all that stuff I experience. I don't come to you and say, it's too much noise from the cars. I don't want them on Raynard Street. No, because everybody's entitled to enjoy the environment that we have here on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. And I say to you again, yeah, you're gonna always have one or two bad apples. But I don't think it's fair to deny these kids who are coming here to enjoy themselves on the beach where Dr. Gilbert R. Mason fought for us to be able to go down to the beach and enjoy ourselves. And now here we are in 2024 saying we don't want the Black kids to come down to the beach. How insulting is that to the memory of Dr. Felix Dunn and Dr. Gilbert Mason and all the other people like Miss Ethel Clay, who's here today, who fought to make sure Black kids could go to the beach. Again, I ask you to think about ways of making that work, because Mr. Tisdale, you and I know it's called resolution and solutions. And if you don't want a solution, you won't find one. Thank you.
Anyone else?
Good evening. Council. My name is Herschel Pargo. I live at 15336 Havisham Place in D'Iberville. I'm the president of the Biloxi branch of the NAACP. I have heard so much here this afternoon, and it makes you wonder. I heard Mr. Lawrence something said, Happy Easter. If you think about Happy Easter, y'all be thinking about Jesus Christ. We simply say the pledge of allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Where is the justice here for the kids to come down here on the beach? Where is it? I always said, call a spade a spade. What you're saying is, I don't want black folks on the beach. And like you said, it's a disgrace to Dr. Mason and Dr. Dunn. And anyone went out there on that beach to fought for black Americans to be on that beach. I'm appalled with it. Why? When are we going to wake up and be one nation? That's what we need. One nation under God and delivered with justice for all. Thank y'all.
Anyone else would like to speak? One last time? All right. If not, citizen comments are now closed. This brings us to the public hearing. We have a total time allotted of 30 minutes. The applicant will be having 10 minutes to speak. Then we have opposition for 15 minutes, and then the applicant will have a 5-minute rebuttal. So here we go. Is the event planner here? Please state your name and address out loud for the record and sign in for me. And then when you're ready to speak, we will start the timer for 10 minutes.
Yes, how's everybody doing? My name is Nick Brundage. I am the originator, along with myself, since 2010 of Mississippi Black Spring Break. I've been listening to all the comments that's been said today, and I think there's a misconception. There was no special event permit that was submitted. The only thing that was submitted was a amplified beach permit, which was the Harrison County Sand Beach Patrol, which we do every year. Some years is denied, some years is approved. The years that is denied or approved, we go to the city of Biloxi and we get a permit, amplified beach permit, because they control the beach side and the beach sidewalk. So some years they're approved and some years they're denied. So for the misconception of an actual special events documentation submitted, that wasn't submitted. The beach is free, it's a public beach, and all our events are at a private property. So I stand here as, even when the special events committee submitted the documentation, that Captain Everett, who's not here, he didn't know that it was even submitted to us. I asked questions, and as far as myself and my team, in response to what was denied, because nothing that was denied was anything that we asked for. As you see, I guess you guys might have the docket already. The only thing on the docket is a amplified beach permit that we submitted with Chuck Loftus, who, unbeknownst to us, he retired this year, so now it's Troy McKnight. So I'm not here to go against the appeal because nothing was submitted to be appealed. Once again, the beach is free. The only reason we do events on the beach is to migrate our spring breakers to the beach so they can enjoy the beach. As far as what the chief said, I think he said in an article about there's a problem with people crossing the street. There's only so much parking on the beach regardless of what event it is. It could be cruising the coast, it could be Mardi Gras. Just a quick timeline, real quick. So April of last year, we submitted the documentation to Chuck at the Harrison County Sand Beach Patrol. I physically gave it to him, and we sent an email. April 25th, I sent an email to every city council member, the chief, and the mayor, hoping to sit down, let's talk about the preparations. This was April 25th, 2023. Didn't get any response from anybody. I got an acknowledgement from Mr. Tisdale saying he acknowledged the email. So between then and probably November, we talked to Captain Everett. He was telling us what was going on, things of that nature. We reached out to, again, through Captain Everett to set up a special meeting with all law enforcement, which was February 22nd, which was right across in the next hallway. There was Harrison County Sheriff's Department, the Police Department, Gulfport Police Department, EMTs, just various law enforcement. In that meeting, they stated verbatim that it was a problem with any event, regardless of Black Spring Break, there's a parking problem. So for Chief Miller to say there's a problem crossing the street, where else do you want us to park? There's only so much parking that we can have. So as far as the Shula lot that was in any other private lot that was brought into the actual event, that is to help the event for its parking, because we was given us a problem and we provided a solution, which was to have parking. So the Shula lot and any other private lot that anybody, any entity or conglomerate wants to get to help our event, they get that lot, which is not us reinventing the wheel, because any other event, they do the same thing, from Cruising the Coast to Mardi Gras to Thunder on the Sound, whatever event, that major tourism event that comes to the coast, private events are part of the event because there's a problem with parking. So once again, I'm stating, and I'm asking the chief, so if you take away the lot, what is the plan? Because we haven't been presented with the plan. So if you take away the parking, which is to help the spring breakers park and get across the street, where are people going to park at? No one has presented a plan, even if there was inconsistencies of what was stated in the media, presented to the media, I think his name is Noah, as far as what's going on. Why wasn't a call or email sent saying, hey, what's going on? Let's figure out what we're going to do. Instead of running to the media and try to put on a false facade saying, Black Spring Break is canceled, this is canceled. Once again, there's no permit has ever been submitted. We submitted a amplified beach permit. Whether it's denied or approved, the event still goes on. We only go to the actual beach, as others have presented, because in 2010, when we created this event, it was for our ancestors to coordinate them as far as what they had to deal with about not being allowed to be on the beach. So we celebrate them being able to let us be around and be on the beach. That was a simple, the idea of actually being on the beach. I also read an article stating that that we charge on the beach and things of that nature. Everything that we do on the beach is free. All we do is organize any other event that happens, whether it's even Black Spring Break or just a regular beach day. We have the volleyball, we have the jet skis, we have the tug of war, things of that nature. So once again, and I'm asking the city council, and I'm asking the mayor, and I'm asking the chief, what is the plan if you take away the actual Shula lot and any other additional lots that have been provided to help with parking? Because that's the main issue as far as parking. That's all I have.
Okay, so we'll have the opposition come up. Who's gonna speak on behalf?
All right, let me correct a few things right off the bat. The beach is open to everybody, and nobody has shut down spring break. We denied a permit, and we met, he said we met about a permit. We discussed it. That permit was not up to par with what we had told them we needed. You can't take 200 parking spots and put 30,000 cars in it. I'm sorry, you can't do that. The second thing that is a major problem for law enforcement, that is US Highway 90. You can't have people crossing back and forth. If you're going to have your event, it's either going to be on the north side or the south side if you're going to have pedestrians crossing. There's no way. We've done this. We've tried this many times. If you recall, a couple of years ago, we even set up crossing places where we could try to control it and cross people to the beach. but people crossed wherever they wanted to. That has not worked. It's dangerous. It slows down traffic. It completely stops traffic. And again, I say on US Highway 90, it's not like we have a lot of throughfares. That is the main travel through the city of Biloxi. And we have to be able to get traffic through there. That's cut and dry. We've worked with the Black Spring Grape group as much as we can over the years. We've approved amplified sound. We've approved everything. But we now have new ordinances in place. And Black Spring Break, along with every other event, I expect them to follow those ordinances. The ordinances were put in place out of need. It's not somebody just dreamed them up and thought we'd do this to harm a particular group. That's bull. That's not happened. The safety of the people, not only the citizens of Biloxi, but the people that are at these events. That's my job. It's the safety of everybody, not just policemen or citizens of Biloxi, everybody that's here. You take 30,000 people and you start crossing Highway 90 anywhere that you want to, and traffic will never move. We've seen this, and we've struggled with it every year. With the events, what we've asked is that you come up with a solution for this for us. It's not our job to have a solution for that. It's your event. You want to have an event. Have a solution to go with it. Either find a way to rent lots on the south side and park your vehicles there, or have your events on the north side. But as far as the beach being closed, that's ridiculous. Nobody's closed the beach. Nobody said anything like that. This was one ordinance or one plan that we denied because it was not sufficient. And that is the bottom line. I suspect that somebody will step up in the future. Somebody will do some thinking, and they'll step up with a good plan, just like the rest of the events have to do. The difference in this event and the other events is that we have people crossing 90? Yes, but not to the extent that we do, especially in that small area around the Schuler lot. It's constant. Traffic cannot flow. It's dangerous. And after dark, it becomes really dangerous. And I'll try to answer any questions if you have any that I know a lot was said.
Anyone have questions? Go ahead, Mr. Tisdale.
I have a bazillion questions. I don't know if they should be directed at the chief or if they should be directed to Mr. Brundage. And thank you for coming tonight, Mr. Brundage. But Chief, do you mind if I ask Mr. Brundage some questions? Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and finish the public hearing, and then we'll go back to questions and answers.
That's
How about
fine.
that?
Okay.
Go ahead and finish your rebuttal. Anything you want to say?
Yes, so to base what Chief Miller said, we tried to extend the event out past the confinement of the mall and the Coliseum. We was always met with the deniement from the police saying that there's not enough police officers, things of that nature. So as far as being confined, this is just the only area that we're at. And it's the only area that has the private lot. So once again, we was presented a problem, and we presented a solution, which was the lots for the parking. So just to counterpoint what the chief said, also, the event is only 3 or 4 days out of the year. Any other events, maybe a week and a half. There's more crossing the street and cruising the coast in various areas than it is Black Spring Break. If you go by the statistics, you know, the chief said is people parking, but who has passed away or who has fatalities, Black Spring Break, from people crossing the street or cruising the coast? So I'm not saying that the incident that happened last year with Black Spring Break is something that, you know, as somebody mentioned, situations happen. A gun problem is a gun problem for the whole nation. But to make it seem like it's such an issue crossing the street, okay, so give me the statistics of what happened when people cross the street based on other events that's happened. So once again, and also I want to mention also, so in the February 22nd meeting that I mentioned before that had all the law enforcement, Chief Miller was in the meeting. It was basically an open forum to anybody who had any kind of questions or things of that nature as far as what's going on and things of that nature. So to say that things are unorganized, I don't like that word when people say things are unorganized, or to go to the media and say things are unorganized, especially when it's an all predominantly black event. Things are organized. You put things out there. You put a fear out to the world and the city that things are unorganized. As I gave you the timeline, as I said earlier, we try to organize things. We reached out. No one reached out back. So what are we supposed to do? We have no problem working with the city or working with the city of Biloxi Police Department or Gulfport Police Department, whatever police department. We want to make this the safest event because, as I stated before, we've been here since 2010. So it's going on 14 years. So I don't understand where is this disconnect as far as actually helping us and giving things and giving more ideas and things to help the event out. And also, I just want to end on this point. So if we had an event at the Coliseum as far as parking, where were people going to get to the beach anyway? They have to cross the street. So the issue of walking across the street is the issue for it. It's going to be an issue regardless of whatever the event is. So I just don't like the rhetoric, the empty rhetoric of saying that it's a problem crossing the street, because it's going to be a problem anywhere because there's no parking. That's it.
Okay, questions? Mr. Dizzo, go first.
Yeah, thank you. What activities comprise this beach event? You're advertising a beach event, correct?
Correct.
Okay, so what events will occur that comprise this event?
Volleyball, which is already a volleyball net. There's jet skis. We have co-ed tug of war. We have co-ed football. It's basically, the reason why we even wanted to be event is first, to commemorate everybody who wasn't able to be on the beach at one time. And second is to get people to actually park wherever they got to park at, whether it's private lots or side streets, or if the Coliseum, if it's open, and to actually be on the beach instead of walking down the seawall all day. So those are the only events, and all those events are free. There's no reason, there'll be no reason to charge for events like that, because all we are is telling people to come on the beach and enjoy the beach. It's 26 miles of beach. So we're just telling people to enjoy the beach.
Okay. The next question is, how many people do you think will attend this event? What's your best estimate?
I haven't really gotten a vast estimate. As the chief said, or the media is saying it's 30,000 people, 40,000 people. I have no idea, unless there's a way that we can actually maybe get with the hotels and maybe get an estimate from there. But to give a broad estimate, I can't give that answer.
Would you say there are more than 1,000 people that will be in attendance?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Now, so if you're going to have more than 1,000, it could be 1,200, it could be 16,000. All right, and I think the chief alluded to parking, and you had mentioned the Schuler lot. Some of these folks are going to be staying within walking distance. In the past, did you have an event on the beach in previous years at that spot?
Yes.
Okay. And where did those people park?
They parked at the Schuler lot. They parked at other private lots. They parked at over there by Treasure Bay, President Casino. As I stated earlier, there's a problem with parking for every major tourist event. So
Sure.
If there is a solution to that problem, we are open to doing that. But like we said, in the meeting, they was given a solution. They said Cruising the Coast rents out the mall parking lot, but then they said, oh, you can't do that because that's only Cruising the Coast. We're open to any solution that makes sense. So it's like, you can't give us problems and not give us a solution, or give us a way to find a solution to handle those problems.
Well, and as the chief said, you're having this event.
Correct.
It's your event.
Correct.
Okay. And from what you said, the Schuler lot, there's some sort of, maybe it's a gentleman's agreement that the Schuler lot would be used for parking.
Well,
is that correct?
I don't want to just single out the Schuler lot. There is private lots that other entities acquire through renting out the lot through the private owner or whatever. So whatever open lot is available as far as the beach, just like Cruising the Coast does.
Sure.
They provide parking. Now, whatever they do, that's on their business, but they provide parking because that helps the event out.
Right, any private property owner who has property along Highway 90 or inland, if they want to rent the property to somebody, they can do that. However, given that there's some connection to this event, let's say.
Correct.
Then whoever is going to be managing those private parcels, maybe it's Mr. Glavin's parcel, and I work a deal with Mr. Glavin, he's to give me a letter of authorization.
Sure.
All right, that says that I'm going to handle business on his lot for him.
Right.
All right, and I would assume that, is it Mr. Bollinger? Or,
yes, so.
Say it again. Bowler?
Yes, and to answer your point, and then he can answer more if he wants to, but the information that we have, which was, I'm not sure if you guys seen this, but this was during the February 22nd meeting. There was information stating how many security guards he was gonna have, porta potties.
That's
correct. There was even a walkthrough of the actual lot as far as putting the vendors 20 feet out, things of that nature, how many parking. So, and he has all the information as far as a permission from the Schuler lot, things of that nature, but he wasn't given the chance to present that because the special committee just made a decision, as once again, it wasn't on the amplified beach permit, but he wasn't given a position to even present that as far as what he did, because he's been working with the city, actually Captain Everett, since the beginning. So I don't know if he wants to say anything, but. Right, so he's doing everything that he needs to do. He was even open to even getting more security guards or whatever is open to actually have the lot, because once I stated before, that helps us parking. Of course, yes, it's not gonna help with all the parking, but at least it's something. We're giving something. If there's other opportunities as far as lots, as far as parking, we're open to it. But we need help.
Well, but let's go back, but if I understood correctly from what you said, then there is a relationship between this event and the Schuler lot. And the reason I point that out is under the ordinance that was adopted in October, there's a process and there are deadlines associated with that process.
Okay.
And I've not seen anything that says that Mr. Boulder received written authorization prior to the deadline in this relationship associated with the beach event.
Okay.
Now, Chief, correct me if I'm wrong. There's a timeline. In fact, those dates, depending on whether it's a Tier 1 or Tier 2 event, which is based on the number of attendees, the deadline was December 22nd if it's a Tier 1 event, and you met that deadline with the application that was submitted.
Right.
Okay? But Mr. Boulder, to this, as far as I know, even when the committee met on March, I think it was March 3rd or March 5th, I still don't think there was anything in writing from Mr. Boulder noting that he had written authorization from the property owner, and it certainly wasn't submitted before the deadline. The whole point I'm trying to make here at this point is based on the ordinance that we approved in October. And by the way, we had 3 workshops before then. And Mr. Paragon, I think, with the NAACP spoke, and we had representatives from other organizations. You and Mr. Boulder may have attended, but did not speak at those workshops. I noted who spoke at those workshops.
Okay, yeah, I wasn't there.
Right, but that was an outstanding opportunity, a significant opportunity to help shape or help make points to consider during that workshop for these events that other organizations took advantage of. Okay, so that opportunity was missed by the organizers of this event.
Right.
To reiterate what the chief said, anybody can go to the beach, it's a public beach.
Right,
Okay.
and I completely understand that, but.
All right, but hang on just a moment, bear with me. But then the Schuler lot, if the Schuler lot has a connection with this event, and from what you've said it does, then Mr. Boulder's letter of authorization and any safety plan or traffic plan or what's the word I'm looking for? Anyway, he was supposed to submit that either at the same time you submitted yours or under the authorization of your event. Now, said said that again to say this. There was a process that was established with timelines that in this case was followed to some degree by some of the organizers, which you did, but not by others involved in this process. Part of the challenge is, and as Chief Miller said, every other organization that's going to do something in the city is going to have to follow this process. And if they don't meet the requirements of that process, then I'm not going to vote to approve it. So based on what I know, and I have a number more questions, I pretty much said what I had to say, but there's a process. There were deadlines, all right? And as I recall, before this committee met, after the December deadline, I think Officer Everett met again in February, I think, and spoke with you all and had mentioned that. And then in March, when the events committee met, all they can review is what's presented based on the application that you submitted for the special events,
Right.
which didn't include anything from the Schuler lot. But one of the issues, there was a security plan that I think they needed more details on, as I recall. And then there was a parking plan. It's not up to the city to say, here's where you can park. That's not the city's responsibility. That's the promoter's response, the sponsor of that event. And who you contract with for parking, I think it was suggested in Officer Everett's narrative that off-site parking, perhaps with a shuttle service. They even mentioned Edgewater Mall. But as you said, if you contract with the owners of these properties for parking, then these folks have a place to park. That's what helps avoid the gridlock. The chief's concern is when you have so many people in such a small area. So I appreciate the fact that you're trying to stretch the event out along the beach, but it also presents a greater challenge to the chief trying to keep people out of the middle of a United States highway. But that's your responsibility as a promoter. And you'd mentioned, because it was mentioned in this manner in Officer Everett's report, there's a park where you can mentality. And for some folks, that means I'm parking here, locking my car, and I'm leaving. Well, there are 3 landlocked neighborhoods. And when I say landlocked, there's one way in and one way out. And when people park and impede the progress of traffic in and out of those streets, those folks who need emergency assistance from first responders are out of luck, literally out of luck. So that's my primary concern. It's not just, as Chief Miller said, it's not just for the residents, but everybody who's in town for these events. So again, the point I'm trying to make, there's a procedure that was established. Everybody had access to review that, to ask questions, to help shape those ordinances before they were adopted. And yet we find ourselves here in a situation where, based on your own statements, you need to help us with the parking plan. That should have been determined, laid out, everything finalized before the deadline in December. And I appreciate what you're trying to do. I mean, we're a tourist town. Mr. Lawrence will tell you we may have too many events, but we like to have events here. Yep. But due to the recent public welfare and safety concerns illustrated specifically last year with shootings, something's got to give. And what we did was we ditched the old ordinance which only addressed parades and probably been on the book, I don't know, since the mayor was in grade school, I'm guessing, a long time. And so in doing that, in order to give the police the authority to keep us safe as well as your participants safe, these ordinances were revised, not only for special events, but for mobile food vendors, for folks who are having to secure places to park, space, and everything along those lines. So the whole point is, you know, in past years, I hate to go back to past years, but in past years, as a counselor, I had no idea that the chief knew, but I had no idea. I don't know who the promoters are of spring break. And I appreciate you coming here today and speaking, and also Mr. Boulder, I appreciate your comments. My thinking is if everybody would sit around the table this spring, in the next month, I'll bet we could work something out. It may not be great for everybody. Everybody may not agree, but I bet there's a way to have a safer event here in Biloxi with proper planning. The only other factor I'm going to address, and I think you acknowledged it in the application for the special event, was that we need more police officers here in Biloxi. I mean, the chief will tell you by various measures, we ought to have 170 folks out there walking the beat. Right now, I think the last count, it may be a month old now, was 131, and we're looking for 14 more officers, and if we found 30, we'd hire all 30 tomorrow, as long as they pass the psychological test. Okay? So, that's my concern, that's my point, that's where I am on this issue. And I appreciate your interest in being here tonight to explain your situation. Sure. Thank you.
We're going to go ahead and close the public hearing, but we will bring this up when we get to your item, then we'll bring you back up with any other questions we have, okay? Ms. Carey, will you please read ordinance A?
Ordinance amending the Code of Ordinances relating to water and sewer rates charged by the city.
I'll make that motion.
Motion by Mr. Tisdale,
Second.
second by Mr. Glavin. Being a first reading, we will move on to ordinance B.
Ordinance to approve a zoning map amendment to authorize a change in zoning from neighborhood business to commercial business for 2790 Beach Boulevard and 126 DeBeach Road.
Previously moved by Mr. Glavin and second by Mr. Guines. Any discussion, Mr. Glavin?
I don't have any. I think we've talked about the reef and what they're planning to do. I'm sure Jerry may have some input, Mr. Creel, if you'd like.
Kerry, I think we have a map for this property. This is a property where they are building the new convenience store at the corner of DeBees Road and the service drive at Highway 90. They're also building the townhomes behind it. The light orange area right on the corner is zoned NB. As you can see, it's already surrounded by CB. So essentially what they're doing is just, this is just a continuation of the zoning that already exists there. So it'll make everything from Gateway on over be CB. So it's really not controversial. There are really no neighbors around that property. For the majority of the property is vacant. So we would recommend approval.
Mr. Guines, you got anything?
No, I know Dr. Raines and the property. I went by and looked at it, and I think it'll be a great project.
I have a question. Jerry, did we already change this zone once before? Why was it NB when everything else was CB?
No, it was conditional use.
I know we did it.
They came in and asked for conditional use. Now, Mr. Lawrence, y'all did change the zoning at Gateway for the hotel developer that's coming. Yeah. There was a piece of property on the east side of Gateway that was NB, and y'all voted to change that to CB. So
that's what we changed it back.
Yes, sir. That's the property you're talking about.
I know we changed it one time.
Yes, sir. Mm-hmm.
And the CB has the right for a lot more stuff than NB.
Well,
so is it benefiting say the gas station, the convenience store, the townhouses? So does it have to be CB to do that?
Well, like we've talked about in the past, with the CB zoning, the convenience store with gas sales would be used by right, not a conditional use.
Right. So that's the biggest thing, the conditional use.
Yes, sir.
Right. So the CB, they put that in like the town, or is that going to be tied into short-term rentals?
It can be.
They could,
those
right?
Townhomes,
once you do CB,
if the buyers choose, they'd be allowed to do short-term rental as a use by right. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I mean, I didn't like changing the zone again, but I see the reason, because it is all CB, you know.
Yes,
They
sir.
always have is there a need Yeah, what they're doing probably. But there's some things you could look at where it's a little bit different. All right, thank you.
Okay, anyone else? All in favor? Unanimous vote. The dimming out of the room, we'll move on to ordinance C.
Ordinance to approve a zoning map amendment to authorize a change in zoning from neighborhood business and RM30 high-density multifamily residential to RM30 high-density multifamily residential for 308 and 309 Moffett Road.
Go ahead, Jerry.
Okay. We have a map on this too, Carrie. At the last council meeting, the city council voted to vacate a portion of Moffett, which is across the street from the Taco Bell there on Beach Boulevard, right next to the tobacco store. This is actually Dr. Raid's property here that we're talking about. And what's being proposed, you can see the green area. All of the green property is zoned RM30. But you'll notice that the southern parts of the property, there's some sections of NB in there. And what Dr. Raines is requesting is that those NB sections be changed to RM30 because he wants to do a residential community in there. He stated that he has no intention of doing short-term rental, that this is just going to be a housing community where they're going to build a number of houses in there.
You know, when we just did the 600 feet, we vacated it. Is that the strip in the middle?
Same thing, Mr. Lawrence. Yes, sir.
The same property?
Yes, sir.
Right. All right, now, so how are they gonna handle the getting in and out without any trouble?
Well, it'll be kind of like the Grandview Apartments, where you drive up to the gate, you go through the gate, and you're within their development there. That's what would happen, is that at the southern end of that property that was vacated, he would have an entrance going in. So what he's asking for is very reasonable here.
All right.
Okay, anyone else? Mr. Guines, you seconded it? No? All in favor? Unanimous votes. Brings us to ordinance C. D.
Ordinance to approve a zoning map amendment for a change in zoning from RS5 high-density single-family residential to limited business for 287 Iroquois Street.
Previously moved by Mr. Lawrence and seconded by Mr. Guines. Any discussion, Mr. Lawrence?
Yes, I can't support this because it is infringing on a neighborhood. I like the people to come in and speak against it. They live there. They don't want that turned into a limited business. The house does sit inside the neighborhood. There's not a need for that. There's no mistake in the zoning. It's not compatible to the neighborhood, so there's three big reasons right off the bat, and two of them are state statutes. So to me, I just need the extra support of the council to vote this down.
Okay, this is the map, the zoning map that we're talking about. And the property in question, you can see the bold line that goes around the yellow piece of property there. This is the main street going through there is Division Street. And then, of course, the street that fronts the yellow piece of property is Iroquois. The house that's on this piece of property is on the National Register of Historic Places. It's a small white house that's been added to over the time, but they did go to AHRC and got approval from AHRC to restore the house back to its original look. They're removing some old porches and things there. Now, this is not going to be a contractor office in the sense that you think of a contractor office. It's just going to be the real estate office for the wife and the contractor office for the husband. There'll be no equipment here. There'll be no storage here. There won't be people coming to get their paychecks here or anything like that. They're proposing to add a small parking lot to the side of the property. They also own the lot that's just south of that one. So between this house and the neighbor's house, the Pickett's that stepped up and spoke, there's another vacant lot there that will still be zoned single-family residential. It is not a part of the zoning change request. Now, NB being on the corner, originally what we had asked for was NB for this piece of property where the little white house is, but the Planning Commission voted to downgrade it to LB, which is the least intensive business zone that we have. So what that does, it creates a situation called stair-step zoning or transitional zoning, where you go from the NB that's on Division Street, you step down to the LB, and then you step down to the single-family residential. And that's pretty much the case.
And I still make the same statements. There's no need, there's been no mistake in the zone, and it's not compatible to the neighborhood. As you look at the picture, it even sells the point more. Leave it as a residential neighborhood, which that's what it was zoned originally, and just keep it that same way. So that's why I'm asking the council to stand by the people and keep it as a residential neighborhood.
I have none.
I do. So you made the comment that the intent is to use one of those houses for an office or to do some light administrative work out of. If I own a single-family home and I tell the IRS that I use a portion of my bedroom to do some work or whatever, and I can claim it on my tax returns, I'm not required to get my single-family home rezoned to do that type of activity.
No, you can actually do that now.
What would preclude them from doing the same thing?
Well, they don't live here. Otherwise they could get a home occupation license to operate out of here. But
So they're going to lease that for that type of work, or they're going to rent it out? You
no.
mentioned that they were going to use that for that purpose.
No, they've bought it. The wife is a real estate agent. The husband is a contractor.
Right.
They're using the front part as the real estate office. They're using the back part of the house as his contractor office.
I got you, and they don't live there at all?
No.
I got you, okay. Never mind. Thank you.
That even makes it worse.
The structure's not changing at all.
Well, they're improving the structure. It had gotten in bad shape, and what they're doing is they're restoring it back to the historic integrity of a national, like I say, it's on the National Register of Historic Places.
I guess there's no major alterations to the structure. It's gonna
Getting it back to original and actually replacing the siding on it with hardy plank.
and the property south of it that's not in this application.
No. It's a vacant lot that will remain single-family residential, so if anybody tried to build anything on it, they could only build a house on there. No. Single-family residential only, yes.
They could. Not legally.
Turn that mic off.
Okay.
Ordinance to amend the Code of Ordinances pertaining to license and business regulations, ambulance services, insurance requirements.
Any discussion, Mr. Tisdale?
Would it be fair to say that this corrects an error in the original document that required way too much insurance for this business operating in the city?
Yes, sir, that's my first error this year.
First error this, well, okay. All right, that's all. It should have been 2 million. Instead, it was listed in the resolution as 20 million. Well, that's all. Thank you.
Mr. Glavin?
I have nothing.
Anyone else?
I'm with you.
All in favor? Unanimous votes. Brings us to Resolution F.
Resolution confirming and approving mayor's reappointment of Kay Horn to the Board of Trustees of the Biloxi Municipal School Board.
So moved. I'll second it.
Either one.
What?
I'll move it.
Motion by Mr. Tisdale, second by Mr. Glavin. Any discussion, Mr. Tisdale?
Yeah, I would appreciate the council's support on this. I'm sure you'll vote your conscience, but I don't see anything at this point to preclude me voting for Ms. Horn and her reappointment to the school board.
Mr. Glavin?
Thank you, Madam President. This measure, you know, we've tabled it and removed it and I'm glad we're finally bringing it to a head today. I've searched every reason in my mind why should I support it or not support her appointment, and I keep coming back to her peers. Every one of her peers that are on that board have given her not only a vote of confidence and support, but they've talked about her exemplary record and her dedication, her commitment, and involvement in the process and in the meetings. We heard tonight 4 or 5 people come up during public comments. I didn't hear one come up and say don't vote for her, but I did hear several talk about Ms. Kay. And I called her, and I spoke to her as well, just to listen to her and her tone and what happened. And then additionally, this council received a letter associated with the very people who was doing an investigation on some activity. And in that letter, they said she was a victim of the circumstances, despite ongoing investigations. Ms. Kay has not been charged with anything that I'm aware of. And I can't imagine if somebody was, charged with something, how we would vote. But she hasn't been. And I think she deserves, just on her record, and if anything is discovered of any wrongdoing that she is associated with, then I would expect a different action sometime in the future. But if we vote her down and it comes to light that she didn't do anything wrong, I think that is a disservice. And I will be supporting the mayor's recommendation to reappoint her. Thank you.
Okay. Anyone else? Okay.
Actually, I'll come up to you.
Okay, go ahead. Okay. I have a few comments. I want to say that every person that I've recommended to the mayors in the past 11 years have done an excellent job, including the individual on the agenda, Ms. Horn. As you guys look, I've set a letter aside to each and every one of you. And if you look at the letter dated April 12th, 2019, I did a character reference letter for Ms. Horn for the school board, and also helped her secure community development block grant monies from the city for her nonprofit foundation. Those are some of the things that I did. But of course, as of today, I didn't want to bring up anything about an investigation, but it's something that's still ongoing. And I can't in my right heart move forward. I believe it's time for this council to move forward, move into a different direction. We have plenty of qualified people in the community of Ward 2 who can do this. And because of the unresolved pending matters in this case, I cannot support. This is not personal, because in the past, this has been in the past, I have supported on all fronts. And so at this point, I cannot support it because of the pending information that's out there. Thank you.
Okay. Mr. Deming?
I'm gonna follow the councilman's lead. I don't know Ms. Horn. I don't know the situation, but after listening to people, and even after the councilman, Mr. Glavin said that if this comes out that she is not guilty, I don't know exactly what your words were, but that's not what a reappointment's about. She wasn't brought up because of this investigation. This is the natural termination of the appointment. Now we're here to reappoint a person. And so that is the basis for which I would determine an appointment. Also, I heard tons of statements today from people in the audience that said that we're doing a disservice by not reappointing Kay. Well, I think that's a disservice to every other person that may possibly sit on that school board. Saying that the school board can't operate functionally without Ms. Kay, that's a disparaging statement to all the people that are on the school board at this moment. And further, I think that there are plenty of other as Mr. Guy stated, that would do it more than adequate and probably a very positive and beneficial job on the school board. It's time to move forward, and if the councilman from the ward believes it's time to move forward, I'll support his position.
Anyone else?
Thank you.
I do.
I'd like to call for the,
I know, I have a question. Is this a ward appointment?
no, this is not a ward appointment, it's for the mayor.
Yeah,
And
I'm not,
we are-
unlike the planning commission that we have 2 representatives from each ward, these are 5 school board members. And I don't see how this is an appointment by any particular councilman. This is the mayor's recommendation.
Let me correct you real quick, I'm not making any appointment.
I'm not talking to you. I'm making a statement, general statement.
Okay. Made it about me.
No, I'm not making a statement about you. I'm saying it's not my position to make a recommendation for an appointment to the mayor. This is the mayor's recommendation to this council. And, you know, we know, or we should know, if we've done our homework, we've tabled it 4 times. And we should have done some homework and spoke to some folks, and I'm sure some of us have. But I don't see the underlying reason to not uphold the mayor's recommendation based on her track record and based on she has not been charged with anything, any wrongdoing. So why would we vote against her? Mr. Deming says, well, the appointment came up and we got better people. You know, we got other school board members that we've approved, and their appointments have come up, and there's been other people, but we didn't make a change, you know, with them. And I just can't vote my conscience to vote her down at this point, Mayor. And I just want to end my statement with that, and we'll let the chips fall where they may.
I have to rebut that. We did make a change a while back, so that statement was incorrect.
Okay.
Okay. Call for the question.
All in favor? All against? So 4-3?
4-3.
4 against 3-4.
Yep.
Okay, thank you.
All right. Resolution G.
Resolution affirming the denial of the special event application submitted by Nicholas Brundage and Rondell Joyner for a Mississippi Black Spring Break event.
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Tisdale. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Mr. Lawrence. All right. I'm sorry, what was your name again? Come on.
Mr. Brundage.
All right, so who wants to go first? Mr. Guines?
Yeah, I had a couple of questions. As pertaining to the Shula lot, because that was the question that I got a call on. Actually, when you guys were supposed to do the initial rebuttal to the council, they said that the reason they denied the permit was because of the Shula lot. Now, granted, we're talking strictly about the Shula lot, right? Am I incorrect on this?
See, and that is the misconception. There was no special event permit submitted. I submitted an amplified beach permit. The special committee or the chief, they had the misconception because I put 2485, but as everyone knows, there's no exact location for the beach. So as I did every year when I went to Harrison County Beach Patrol and went to Chuck, he would ask me, where was the exact location you're gonna be on the beach? He specifically told me, put exactly where you're gonna be, put the address where you're gonna be on the beach.
Gotcha.
That is the only thing I submitted. So, as I stated earlier, how can we have an appeal when nothing was submitted to be looked at? And also, as far as the special committee, we wasn't even allowed to even submit anything or even describe what we were submitting. And I feel like if we was given that opportunity, we wouldn't even be in this predicament. We wouldn't even be wasting city council time because I did not submit a special events committee. All I did was to submit an amplified beach permit, which I still haven't got any kind of confirmation whether that's approved or denied. And once again, if it's approved or denied, the event still goes on. That's not a major key in the event.
Now, the amplified was done with the county or with the city?
Harrison County Sand Beach Patrol.
Okay, Sand Beach Patrol. Now, what did you submit with the city of Biloxi? That's what I'm.
Nothing.
Nothing at all. So how are we at a point where we are turning down a Shula lot?
Exactly.
When we actually.
Exactly, and that was my main point. Nothing was submitted for the Shula lot. All I submitted was an amplified beach permit, which I'm still waiting on the Harrison County the Sand Beach Patrol to either approve or deny it. That is all the thing I've submitted. So anything that we're talking about, you can't deny something that was never submitted.
Never submitted.
And I stated that in the emails before we got here, but no one from the special committee or anybody would even answer my emails. I didn't answer it to do an appeal. I answer it as a response. And if you guys have the docket, it's a step by step. I'm asking, what are you denying when nothing was appealed? You're saying that, oh, you don't have this, you don't have that. There's nothing that I submitted that even had anything on there.
Yeah. Now, this is our first year.
Correct.
Of implementing this process.
Right.
And of course, I was nowhere around. And I heard that there were meetings taking place, different things like that. Did anyone reach out to you?
No.
As far as trying to resolve these issues? Because we know that this is work in progress right now.
Correct.
And of course, this is our first rodeo.
Right.
Running this special events thing. Did anyone reach out to you, or did you try to reach out to anyone?
So it's funny you said that. I reached out several times. I was even given a suggestion to reach out to the Public Affairs Department, who were incapable of giving me information. I reached out to everybody in the city council. I CC'd everybody. No one got back to me. No one gave me any answers. No one gave me anything.
Excuse me, Mr. Brundage, I believe I responded twice.
Yes, you
Once
said
I acknowledged, and I think on the second one, I think I replied that I'm happy to meet with anybody, anytime. And I think my comment, an additional comment was, I would love to know who's going to be sitting across the table, because I don't know who was in charge of this event. But that's all. I just wanted to note that.
Thank you, Councilman Gaines from Ward 5. Again, could you answer what I asked?
Oh, what was the question again? I'm sorry.
I was asking about, did you go out and try to reach out to anyone as far as with the city? I think that's what I was asking before.
I sent countless emails, and like Mr. Tisdale said, yes, he did say that. And we responded, and we said the same people that have been sending you emails every year telling you about the dates, and we're hoping to sit down.
And I'm asking in specific with the events committee chairman.
Yes, I reached out to him. No response.
Okay. And why do you think that the Shula property is put in here as far as denying the Black Spring Break thing?
Well,
why, if you never submitted anything?
Sure. So once again, it was stated by Jerry Creel, I think he's here today, that the address is the lot. But once again, as I've done every year, I've always put that always put that address, because there's no general address for the beach. So I put the address that's across the street to signify where we're going to be at. And to answer your question, if there was any kind of miscommunication, or if you didn't understand anything, all my information is on anything that's submitted, email, phone number. I'm not hard to find. So I don't understand why no one reached out.
Okay, and I have one more question for you, and then I want the chief to kind of give me a little rebuttal on it. I know a lot of people mention cruising the coast, and they talk about cruising the coast allow this and that and things like that. I know that cruising the coast have a bond. When you went to the city, I guess, or to the county, do you guys have any type of insurance security bond for your event like cruising the coast?
Yes, we do have the insurance, but no one ever presented that as far as asking any of those questions. Like I stated earlier, since 2010, we've been going to the Harrison County Beach Patrol to get a permit. Some years is granted, some years is denied. It's just something that we do.
But you still have the event.
But we still have the event. Unbeknownst to probably anybody in this room, we've probably only been granted the amplified beach permit 3 times. So in 14 years, we've been granted 3 times, but we try every year. We've been granted from the city of Biloxi as far as to be on the beach sidewalk and the beach parking lot, maybe 4 times. So,
Have you asked for, and I know I've done things on the beach, and I was shut down before.
Correct.
Because I had a band out there.
Right.
And they shut me down for a
Right.
noise permit.
Sure.
Did you guys take care of those things?
as far as what?
Noise permit, because I know when
Yes.
you're on that side and you're amplifying, that
Yes.
music is going.
So when we would get the noise permit, it would go through the city of Biloxi Police Department, and whether it was Captain Dykes, Captain Milton, or even Captain Everett, who approved it last year, that's who we would go to get that documentation.
And have you done it this year?
We're still waiting on the Harrison County Sand Beach Patrol to give us approval or denial. So the process is, we go to the Harrison County Beach Sand Patrol. If they approve it or deny it, if they approve it, then we just be on the beach. But if they deny it, then we go to the city of Biloxi Police Department and try to be on the beach or the sand to play amplified music. So it's one or the other.
Okay, thank you. That concludes my questions.
Mr. Deming?
Yeah. Excuse me, Mr. Brundage. I don't have any questions for you.
Okay.
I appreciate your time. I want
Yeah,
to ask
Chief.
Mr. Creel. So if there was no, and I'm looking at the ordinance that we have, the package that we have, and it does show an application to Harrison County. Why are we addressing this through the Biloxi Special Events Coordinating Committee or whatever, if this application was done to the Harrison County?
There are two things that are required with every application in order to get a permit. Number one, it has to be a complete application. It has to have all the information in it. And the second thing that you have to have is site control. You have to show that you've got site control.
With all due respect, Mr. Creel, I think you're
I'm
answering
getting
the
there.
wrong question.
Well, I'm getting there. Okay. The question is the one that's not been answered, is not been asked. Where are these people going to park?
That's not the question.
If they don't have control over some property down there to park on, that brings us into the mix. He didn't submit an application to us. He submitted the application to there. He did use the Schuler property address on the application. He did come in and meet with the special event coordinator, which is the first step in the process. But there's not enough parking along Highway 90 to accommodate this type of an event. The other thing that brings us into the picture not only is the parking and where the parking's going to go, but this event draws a lot of vendors. And those vendors typically have been on the Schuler property. There was no plan submitted for the parking on that property. There was no plan submitted for the vendors on that property. And those vendors will, under the new ordinance, will have to get a permit or a license from us in order to operate. Even the vendor that's operating the property over there. Now, in the response letter that Mr. Brundage sent in, he said, we're not asking for anything on 2450 Beach Boulevard, but we have to ask the question, well, where are you going to park? If you're not going to use the Schuler property, the mall has said that they're not going to allow their property to be used, and the Coliseum has said they're not going to allow their property to be used for parking, and there's a limited number of parking spaces on Highway 90. So that, the vendor licenses, the parking permit for wherever that's going to be, which we would assume that's going to be on private property, that question would have to be answered before we could do this. And when the presentation was made at the meeting before the committee, there were a number of things there. In addition to that question about the parking, and I don't want to speak for Chief Miller, but at the event last year, the police department had 60 people from other jurisdictions that came down to serve to help oversee the spring break event. At the time that we had the meeting to review the application, that had been reduced to 7, and I understand now that that's been reduced to 1 because 6 of those withdrew their support. The police department, in the letter that we sent to them, one of the things that we listed was we just don't have adequate police staff in order to monitor that event and still provide services to the other citizens in Biloxi. You have to remember that with this event, because of the nature of the event and the attention that it has to draw from our law enforcement and our first responders, we have to obligate a large part of the police department to oversee this event. And this event is attended mostly by out-of-towners. There are some local people that attend this event, but for the most part, it's people coming from other cities. And do we really want to obligate the majority of our police department for this one event and not be able to provide assistance to other people, the citizens of this town, that call in for the police department or the fire department or some other type of emergency responder? You know, that's a concern for the taxpayers of this town, and our job is to look out for their life safety. So, number of questions there.
Well, so back to my original question was not the basis for your denial, but the support for your denial. The reason, I'm just asking the simple question that Mr. Brundage asked, why are you denying something that hasn't been presented to the city of Biloxi? I mean, you did an official denial letter, but there's been no application made to the city of Biloxi. And I'm just understanding the process.
Because there has been nothing shown to show where they're gonna park.
No, that's the substance of the denial.
This is the answer to the question.
No, it's not. That's the substance. That's the substance of the denial. I'm asking for the basis of the denial, not the substance. Like, why are we denying something that was never brought to us?
The application was submitted to us. It went to the special event coordinator. The special event coordinator took in all of this information when they were meeting with him. You heard him say that he's been meeting with the special event coordinator for a long period of time. And so all of this, if we were not involved in it, why would he have even come to the special event coordinator to even meet with him? So, you know, there's just some confusion in the way that this is being presented today. But we have to ask that question. You know, traffic has been one of the big problems down there when this event takes place. And if they are not addressing the parking and they're not addressing where these vendors are going to be located, and the county has already denied that they're not going to allow any commercial operation on the beach over there. So these vendors that come, that participate, and the adequate parking, also the concern was the congestion caused by if they park on the street. Dr. Tisdale mentioned this, but I had it in my notes too, that area that's back in there behind this, the Beachview Street, Pine Grove, and Briarfield, there is very limited access to get back in there. And if we have a lot of street parking on Briarfield and Pine Grove, then our first responders are not going to have the ability to get back there to take care of the people that pay taxes in this town.
And Robert, can I ask a question?
You can ask anything you want.
Sir?
Go ahead.
Go ahead.
We're all talking about the same thing. Has anybody leased any property at all for parking? Anybody? Has anybody leased anything for the food trucks?
No,
that come to the city?
I never heard Mr. Bowling's name until 2 days ago. That was the first time I heard it. And we understand that Mr. Bowling supposedly has leased the property for Mr. Schuler, but Mr. Bowling did not submit a parking plan on that property or a vendor plan on that property as part of the application. So, you know, without that question being answered about where those uses are going to go, which always come with spring break, where are they going to go?
So after the first meeting they had with the special events, they never went back with another plan. They had one meeting, but they never brought anything back for a new plan, a different plan,
No.
Parking plan, or anything else.
No. The letter that we sent to them that spelled out the areas of deficiency that we felt were deficient in the application, there's never been anything provided to us about that, not for the Schuler property, not for parking, and not for the vendors.
So after nothing has been done since the first meeting.
That's right. And we would ask this question on any event, not just this event, but any event. Under the new ordinance, this is the information that would have to be provided.
And the other thing, they try to tie these things into another event, nobody uses the beach much in that event. Nobody. They use the beach that much, which is fine. They can use the beach. But that's what the problem with that the chief keeps on about, the crossing. Because there's so many people. You don't get that in parades, cruising, anything.
Well, with
It's the only
cruising the
event
coast, yeah.
that creates that much crowd going back and forth to the beach.
Well, the big difference between here and cruising the coast, one of the differences is that the people that are on Highway 90 for cruising the coast and some other events, they walk east and west up and down the sidewalks. But for this particular event, there's this constant crisscrossing of Highway 90 at a place where there's not a crosswalk to go in there. And yes, it does have an impact on traffic, holding up traffic. A lot of pedestrians migrate out into the street, and, it creates a life safety issue.
Definitely the late it gets, do they have to have permits for certain times of the day? Like the 6 o'clock, 7 o'clock to 12 o'clock?
Well, the only thing that would regulate that would be the noise ordinance, that noise.
That's 10
Yes, sir, that's the
o'clock.
only thing. There's not a curfew law, so unless the council, passed something like that, that would not be an issue.
So if somebody leaves property for food trucks, they can stay open all night, or they gotta shut down at a certain time?
There's nothing specifically that says you have to shut that business down at a particular time. The issue would be if they're generating noise, then that noise would have to stop at a certain time.
Okay, thank you.
Okay. You got anything else, Mr. Demme?
Just a couple of things. I don't know, I know the chief projects a lot of people that will be here for spring break. How does this, if you pass the mic to the chief, I don't know who wants to talk. I know that we created this events thing, this program, and I think we did it the wrong way. And I said at that time, I know Dr. Tisdale said, yet we find ourselves here, and I think that's the case. This event is different than all other events. It's not like a concert or a parade or anything that can be shut down. And so my concern is, how are we gonna handle it? It's like, isn't it this weekend or next weekend? How are we gonna handle it when people show up,
Next weekend.
regardless of whether this denial is made
If I
public?
might have just a couple of minutes, because there's been a lot of things said that just aren't true, I'm sorry. Here's the special events permit that was issued. It's signed by Mr. Rummage right down here. This absolutely came to the committee. The committee met on it. We told them at that point that there's some things we have a problem with. One is parking. We can't, like I said earlier, you can't take 30,000 people and put them in an area where maybe you could put 150 or 200 cars. They understood that. The second thing was the crossing back and forth on Highway 90. They understood that. I was very pleased that these gentlemen came forward with an attempt to do something. I was very pleased with that. I was very pleased that Mr. Bowling was willing to put 20 security guards on that lot. I was very overjoyed that we had somebody finally coming together and trying to pull an event together. But they stopped. They didn't move forward. At that point, I don't think that Mr. Bowling was, I think these three guys were in this talking together. They weren't actually, they had not actually decided to have a joint event yet. And I don't know what happened with that. And maybe Mr. Bowling probably, I would imagine he stood back because this special events permit that was sent to us was not approved, because they never came back to us. When they left, they told us, we made it clear what the problems were, and that they would need to come back and tell us what you're going to do about parking. When they left that day, this large meeting of people, when they left, I thought they felt pretty good about things. They told us that they were going to go take a look and see about the Coliseum. They were going to take a look and see about the Edgewater Mall, if they could park there. And they were going to talk to Coast Area Transit about maybe busing people in. They understood when they left, we could not put all those people and all those vehicles right there. They understood that when they left. I don't know if they met with resistance somewhere. Maybe the mall told them no. I don't know if they ever went and talked to the mall or not, because they never came back and they never talked to us. And nobody reached out to me with any concerns about it. I would certainly have reached back out to them and tried to help them if that had happened. But that didn't happen. So to say that nothing was ever submitted is just not true. There it is, black and white. Now, I think we have a lot of folks in here that are concerned because they think the beach is being closed to black folks. And that is just ridiculous. What we have right here is we're gonna have spring break this year. Spring break will be here. We all know that. That's what you were asking me. We know that we're gonna have a lot of people for spring break, just like we do for other events. We only ask that the people that were gonna try to make money off of this, that they organize and do what was right and follow the ordinances that are in place, and that didn't happen. Now, for those promoters to get up here, and I've worked with all of them, like I said, I was very happy they stepped forward and tried. I think next year they'll do better. But for them to step up and try to make it an issue about not allowing black people on the beach is ridiculous. This is a commercial venture that they're involved in. They want to make money or they wouldn't be doing it. Now, if they want to have a bunch of free events, that's fine. I think that's great. I think that's what should happen. But the reality of it is, there it is, and it says there will be beach events, club events, concerts, day events, food vendors, and car shows. That's what the committee met on. That's what we discussed. It was very clear when the first meeting that they would need to come back and tell us how they were going to solve some of these problems. That never happened. That never happened. Is spring break coming? Absolutely, spring break's coming. Is anybody going to deny somebody to go on the beach? Absolutely not. And I'm tired of hearing that. I'm tired of hearing it. That has not happened. It's never happened. We've had spring break right here for years, and we've always accommodated as best we could. We simply ask these new promoters to follow the new events, the event laws. That's what we ask them to do. So that's it in a nutshell.
Well, thank you, Chief, and I appreciate that. I apologize. I did find that permit. I did find a permit. I don't know if it's the permit that Mr. Brundage was referring to that wasn't filed, but I did see the permit, so I apologize for suggesting there wasn't. However, my concern is, are we prepared to handle the event this year? And I don't know anything about this property or the 20 security guards or the porta potties or whatever. How are we
Well,
gonna?
I think what should have happened there, not to interrupt you, and I'll answer your question, but I think what should have happened there, I think Mr. Bowman was waiting to see if Mr. Joyner and Mr. Brundage were going to be approved, and I think he was going to jump on board with them, I think. Right. Probably what should have happened is he should have submitted his own. He should have submitted his own request.
Right.
Because that is an event to itself.
I agree, but moving forward now that we know that this event is upon us and he has this property secured, how are we gonna handle that? Are we gonna utilize the value that he's produced even though he missed these filing deadlines, or are we gonna go out at
Well,
blind?
it's more than missing filing deadlines. We still don't know how many people he's planning to have there. Are they still gonna have events across the beach on the other side of US Highway 90?
Well,
That's the issue.
are you referring to Brundage or what is it, Boulder?
Bowling?
Well, so I don't know if he's having events or if he was just setting up parking. You know, there's plenty of people that arrange parking in venues to generate revenue off of charging for parking. I don't know any of that, but I know it's an opportunity to handle some of the intense inventory of vehicles that will be on the coast that weekend. And so I didn't know if we had a plan to address that. I know that there were deadlines, and I'm sure they're going to work harder on meeting those deadlines and satisfactory application requests next year. But this is an opportunity to reduce some of the tension in that area, and I didn't know if we were taking advantage of that.
I don't see the opportunity that you're talking about. If you're talking about 150 or 200 cars out of 30,000, I don't see it. What we would have requested, if there were several of these folks along the beach doing this, and they had multiple places for cars to park, then I would absolutely jump on board, but I don't see that.
I have a question for Chief real quick, if you don't mind, real quick.
No.
We said that the beach is not closed. We're gonna have spring break, right? Okay, so if we're gonna have spring break, my question is, you got a vacant lot sitting there, just all by itself. Is there a possibility of it being used as a parking lot?
Not at this time, no. We're past the deadline.
Because we're past the deadline.
We're past the deadline. And that's not just the only event. There's many events that are planned. And none of them have come to us. And I commend Mr. Joyner, Mr. Brundage for coming to us, I thought it was great. I thought we were gonna make something work.
And I'm talking about just for parking, because evidently parking is gonna be an issue. And we already know that the people are coming. We have no exception for trying to alleviate a problem that's gonna happen? We know it's gonna happen.
It's absolutely gonna happen. But
It's
again,
not gonna
200
happen.
cars is not gonna alleviate a problem for us. It's gonna cause a bigger problem at that one area. Again, if there were multiple places that were doing this, yes, we could probably make that work, but they're not. And I think what you'll see next year is I think you'll see folks step up and do that.
Go ahead, Mr.
All
Godwin.
right, thank you. I've been patiently listening to all the input, and this is a couple different issues here. And the first and foremost, like everybody's reiterated, spring break is coming. Spring break is welcome on the Mississippi Gulf Coast. I know the perception is no, it's not. You don't want people here. That's farthest from the truth. We've always stated that.
Since at least 2000, at least since 2000, we've been.
Actually, 1990, in the 90s, Chief, if you recall. And, but that being said, we could have took the stance that other cities have taken in Miami Beach and Panama City and Pensacola, and putting curfews and, denying beach access and all that kind of, and taking a hard stance. There's a lot of people in the community that have asked for that. But what we have here is that we put together a committee, and that committee worked to get certain parameters done, and we've missed those parameters, and that is part of these growing pains as we try to do the right thing and plug in with everyone and get prepared for these events, especially when we have organized events. And we want to make them happen if we can, but if we can't, we can't. And we're gonna have to take another bite of the apple to try to do it what you're trying to attempt to do. But that beach and seeing people enjoy that beach, that's what we are all about, hospitality and seeing that happen. Safety and security is the other part of this coin here, and we have to ensure it. And that's why we went through these new ordinances that we put in place. Last year, you had Cruising the Coast raising hell because 1,100 tickets were written, when normally we have 400 or 500 tickets, because law enforcement was trying to do their job. And all these events are different. They're uniquely different, not different because it's black, not different because it's a car show or a Mardi Gras or a Martin Luther King parade. They're just different. And you got a man and his resources, what he's trying to do, working within this committee with these timelines in this process, and then it gets appealed to us, to try to look at it and say, why should we change this decision? I see the application was submitted in December. That's what I see here. And then I see the various notes on logically saying we got issues with this. And we've heard the give and take today. I think good intentions are, I hear the good intentions, and I hear Councilman Guyan saying, well, the event's coming, what can we do? Can we do a backdoor thing with this thing? And I think, unfortunately, it's going to be difficult to do that. We'll try to manage it, but we can't approve. The beach was denied by Harrison County Sand Beach. It was denied, And, so now we're looking at parking areas, and we haven't got that submitted timely, and we got to learn. I had a promoter a couple weeks ago, the oyster thing, and he was raising all kinds of cane with what he had to do with his vendors and everything, because things are changing so that we can have a safe, beautiful, Biloxi for people to enjoy, right, Mayor? So that's where we find ourselves, folks, today. And, I'm looking at the application was submitted. I'm looking at there was some attempt to comply, but I don't think we got it all the way across the goal line in this case. Thank you.
Mr. Tisdale?
Yeah, so just to review, there have been no vendor permits issued for the Schuler lot at this point. Is anybody in the administration seen written authorization from Mr. Boulder for use of the Schuler lot?
I believe there is a letter from Schuler to
Okay.
Mr. Bowling to use the lot.
Right, and I don't know what the date is on that letter, but my guess is it's probably after the December deadline would be my guess, given what you said earlier, Chief. But, you know, there's a lot of parking in East Biloxi. If I was gonna organize an event, I'd start lining up empty parcels and see if owners would lease it to me. I'd look at the public parking downtown or in East Biloxi. Of course, if my event is on the beach, then are these folks gonna walk that far? Some probably won't. But if I understood correctly, Mr. Brundage, you just give me a head nod back there, but you're advertising this event, correct? Please come up to the microphone. Thank you, Chief.
To answer your statement of what you said about moving to East Biloxi, we've tried to do events at the Point Cadet. We were stated from the City of Biloxi Police Department that they do not rent anything on the east side of Biloxi during Black Spring Break. So yes.
And why is that? Do you know?
Because they said there's a lack of police force. So,
there you go. Okay. Okay.
Right, but I'm just going by what you said.
Sure.
So we have tried to spread this event out as much as possible, but we've been pushed with pushback from the City of Biloxi. So to make a statement like that, yes, everything that you're saying, we've tried. So we're confined to one area. We want to be all down the beach, but we can't because you keep confining us to one area. So that's just to comment based on what you said. Also, what Chief said, I just want to comment on what Chief said. So we was talking to Captain Everett because we're the ones who wanted to set up the meeting with the City of Biloxi Police Department and all the law enforcement. So the document that he's stating, that's just a document stating what's going on during Black Spring Break. It was never presented, that's a special event documentation. Even you can look at it, it has a parade event thing on there. If you look at it, it has nothing that says special event. So the document that was submitted is something that's saying what we got going on as far as the information of all the events that we have going on that was presented in that meeting. So that's just to
I understand what you're saying.
And also, the chief also said that the rhetoric of saying that the beach is closed. So it's only been 3 or 4 people that's been going to the news, which is Noah right here, stating all the information that's going on. Myself or anybody else who's doing the event has never went to the news as far as to put anything out. So the rhetoric of it saying that the beach is closed is coming from the chief, it's coming from Jerry Creel, it's coming from these representatives who are making these statements to the media, and that is the headline of what people are saying. So yes, that is why people are saying, oh, Black Spring Break is canceled, because of the information given to them through the news. So that is to go, that's just a comment to say what was stated earlier.
Okay. But let me be clear, you're advertising this beach event.
Correct, which I've done every year.
Okay, so be similar to me saying, I'm gonna have a party and I'm inviting 1,500 of my closest friends. Now, when you get here, I don't know where you're gonna park, but we want you to have a good time.
Right, but that could be any event. I could tell people to come down to the beach tomorrow.
Sure you could.
There's no parking.
But here's the thing. This is your event.
Correct.
You're not worried about parking. Guess who's got to worry about parking? Because you haven't worried about parking. That man right there.
No, sir.
And yes, sir. Yes, sir.
So the
Yes,
situation
sir.
for parking.
You're having a great event, a good event. You don't know where people are going to park. You don't know how many are going to come in. How is this man supposed to plan for what he's going to do when you've already acknowledged that he's shorthanded? We've pointed out that we can't get other law enforcement officers down here for this event. You've told me, well, we tried to find a spot. We couldn't find anywhere that would lease parking or whatever. But part of this, and I go back to what Chief Miller said, part of this is too little too late. We still don't have a parking plan right now.
Well, sir.
And what you're telling me is it's my event, but I don't have a parking plan because other folks won't work with me.
Well, sir, as I stated earlier, when I sent the email to everyone on the city council and the chief and the mayor, April 25th, 2023, I reached out and said, hey, what are the preparations? Let's meet up. So we didn't meet up until February 22nd of this year, and then March. So what more could we have done if we're reaching out to the city to ask for help as far as parking? As we stated in the meeting, sometimes if we get the A-OK from the city, some of these landowners who own private lots will be more reluctant to let us rent those lots out if we get an okay from the city. Of course, we already know it's the elephant in the room. There's a different perception with our event because it's predominantly African American. So if it's more people like yourself that look like you or the mayor giving us the okay to get these events or get these private lots, we would have more private lots. I commend Timothy Bolin for actually getting the lot and going to Mr. Schuler to provide us with help, but nobody else would give us any information. So we had that February 22nd meeting to find out a plan, which the chief was in, but he left midway through, so he missed a lot of the information. So as once again, I'm asking you, what is the plan? If you do not have the lot, what is the plan? And no one has given me the information. What is the plan?
I should have asked, this should have been my first question tonight, and I apologize that it didn't dawn on me until this very moment. Have you ever did you read the city ordinance when it was approved in October?
Yes, I read the city ordinance, and I asked for clarification several times. I even went to Captain Everett, who, unbeknownst to him, he still had questions about it. And he's the special events coordinator person. So if he has questions about it, I have questions about it. I'm reaching out to the powers that be. We still can't get answers from it. What are we supposed to do? What are we supposed to do?
Well,
and see, not to cut you off, but see,
no,
this is the funny thing. I work on contracts every day. Usually when you do a contract, it usually takes about a year to get all the loopholes out and to get all the kinks out. This information, this contract or this special events was created in October, November, correct? Maybe that time frame. You had Mardi Gras that, from information that we was given, was working to the midnight oil to get everything situated as far as that situation. And it was no media, there was no information like that. But as soon as Black Spring Break comes around, there's so many media articles, there's so much this going on, we can't do this, we can't do that. But as stated, that no one has ever, we've reached out to everybody. I sent Chief Miller an email. I sent the mayor an email. I sent the special committee an email. I'm asking for clarifications. If you deny something that I didn't ask for, why not come back with a resolution of what we can do to get something approved? But no one came back to say anything. So now we're here at this impasse. We're going back and forth about what's going on.
We keep chasing our tails on this. You want to have an event here. It's going to draw hundreds or thousands of people. There's a process to follow. It wasn't followed. There's a timeline to be followed. It wasn't followed. There are documents of authorization that have to meet timelines. That was not done. It's not a city event. This is your event. This is your responsibility.
Correct, but as I've stated earlier, the only thing I submitted was an amplified beach permit. And everyone knows besides myself, because I haven't seen an email, I haven't got an email or phone call. I don't know if I've been approved or denied from that, because the Harrison County Sand Beach Patrol has not contacted me. That's the only thing I've got. As far as Timothy Bolin, whether it was submitted or not submitted, that's still not enough time to get information done. If you got the thing in October, November, and we just now meeting in March, how was he able to submit information if he didn't even know about the special events ordinance? But he can. There's still a whole bunch of questions that no one seems to understand. I even reached out to the public affairs, and they still couldn't give me any information. So,
What happened? It cut off.
All right,
Try.
I'm confused while we're arguing here. If you didn't submit anything, then there is no event. Because the rules are you are supposed to submit this. And we did have several workshops, and everybody from every event that has on this coast was here except you, every single one. And I was, I believe, president at that time. And I stated, so everyone is here but you every time. And that made a, it made a mark that you didn't care.
No. Well, ma'am, I don't live here. So I couldn't be in no committee and no
I don't
email.
think the other events live here either.
Okay, but was there given an email? Was there given a notice of what's going on?
But anyway, back to my comment.
Okay.
If you didn't submit, like the rules have stated now, because they have changed, then there is no event.
Okay, but the beach is free and all the events on private property. So what would be denied? If the beach is free and every event is on private property, what would be denied?
Let me go back, let me tell you something.
Yes, sir.
You know anything about sales?
Yes, I do.
You gotta close the deal. You didn't close the deal. You need to park 10,000 cars. You need to find a spot to park 10,000 cars. You never did. And you brought nothing back to anybody. So sitting there and keep saying it's about parking, yeah, it is. If you want to park 10,000 cars, you need to find that spot. You didn't. Oh, no, that's how you close the deal. Okay. It's your event, it's your deal you want to make. And the thing with the beach, Harrison County supervisor said no commercial business on the beach. Not about you can't go on the beach. You can do what you want. You can have all the free football games you want. Commercial, charging. That's what they said they would not issue a permit for. So make sure we get all these statements straight. Don't just say they can't go to the beach. You can't. That's not true. You can't be on the beach selling stuff without getting a permit from the Harrison County supervisor.
Okay, but sir, we didn't submit anything for it to be
all this
so.
stuff about you can't go to the beach, we blocking people. Ain't none of that's true. Anybody
Dizzo.
go to the beach tomorrow morning, all they want.
Okay, but we
Your
didn't.
biggest problem is you need to park 10,000 cars and you can't. If you had them 20, 30,000 people, you gotta park 10,000 cars and find one lot at Shula's. I don't care what you got, it can't park
I
but a
think
few
the
hundred
floor is recognized,
cars.
Mr.
That's not doing you any
Tisdale.
good. So,
Thank you, Mr.
Sales, close the deal.
So here's what I foresee, and Chief, you can give me a head nod or whatever. You don't have to get up, and then I'll be silent. There are visitors, tourists, coming to the city of Biloxi in the next 10 days or so. They're going to be here. From what I've heard, there have been no permits issued for the Schuler parking lot. There are no vendors that can use that lot. I don't believe they can park cars there. If so, there would have been a parking plan or whatever, and some form filled out for this event. They can't charge, right? So if they want to park 200 cars and it's not costing the car owners anything, then they can park there, okay? What? We don't have panhandling permits anymore. Okay. I believe we repealed that ordinance a number of years ago. Okay. That's fine. I don't know that you're panhandling, but let me get back to the chief, and then if you recognize, you can speak in front of the mic. But the other thing is, people are coming down to park. If they're parked unlawfully, they're going to be towed, okay? And I would think the key to this is having law enforcement. As soon as vendors are pulling up to do business, somebody's got to be on them asking for a permit, and if not, they got to move, they got to go, whatever. But I'm assuming, since you said you are advertising these events, you owe it to the folks who are coming to this event to let them know there is no parking plan. You can't just park wherever you like. If you're parked unlawfully, you're going to be towed. And you need to stay out of the traffic.
Well, that was when we had the February 22nd meeting, that was the information that was already presented. We asked for the rules for the beach so we can promote it to our people that are coming. We asked for any kind of law, any kind of rules. We asked for that. We still haven't received that. So we have no problem presenting the rules of anything. But my thing is, okay, so what are the streets or what are the avenues for people to park? If it wasn't Black Spring Break, what are the avenues or what are the streets that people can park lawfully? Does anybody know?
All the parking streets that can, all the public streets with parking that's either specified as lawful.
Okay.
That's it.
Okay.
So as long as you're parked lawfully, Can you block a fire hydrant? No.
Okay.
Can you park 2 cars deep on the side and block emergency vehicles from going up and down that street or road? No, you can't do that. Most of this is common sense.
Okay.
Can you can you block somebody's driveway? No.
Right.
Do you have to obey the speed limits? Sure.
Okay.
Okay. All right, I'm quiet.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I do have a few things I'd like to say.
Just one.
I've got it on. I'm gonna try not to talk too long, but I've been sitting here patiently, and I'm gonna say a few things. First, everything Councilman Tisdale says, I pretty much agree with everything he said. He can addressed a lot of concerns, a lot of issues that I have, so I don't have to ask him now. Take less time. I do have a few questions, Mr. Brundage, for you. These may be off the subject of the Schuler lot and everything else everybody's asking. Pool party in Wool Market. Are you aware of a big party they're scheduling and gonna have in Wool Market?
That is a separate organizer, promoter that's doing that. You would have to talk to them as far as that.
That has nothing to do with you?
No, that's not on my schedule of events, but that's a separate promoter organizer that's doing that.
Do you know if he got a permit or asked for a permit,
I
requested
don't know.
one?
That'll be something that
You know who that is by chance?
Oh, no, that'll have to be something you have to reach out to them.
That's fine. Were you connected last year with that party in Wool Market?
No.
Not last year neither?
No.
How about pop-up parties? Are you familiar with pop-up party?
I do know what
Do y'all promote those?
No, every event that we have was presented in the February 22nd meeting. Okay. I think you was there, I'm not sure. Was you there? I'm not sure.
I was not.
Okay, but yeah, there was when we had the meeting with all the law enforcement, we presented all the events that we had, and we said there's additional events that are going on. But as far as the events that we have, that's the only information that we have.
Okay. I'm going to have a question for Director Miller. I'm going to ask him something in just a second, but I'm going to say a few things.
Okay.
I was a police, not to you in general. I mean to you specifically. If you want to go sit down, you can, because I'm going to ask Director Miller up in a second. I was a police officer for 25 years in the city of Biloxi. From 2000 to 2018, just so happened I worked every event, Black Spring Break, all the events. I worked them every year I was there until 2018. Now, nobody's addressed this. I'm going to address it because I lived it. I was there every year dealing with it. We've talked about permits. We've talked about deadlines not met, not followed, processes not followed. Nobody's talked about, I'll be honest with you, and maybe it's not part of this, but I'm going to make it. I'm going to bring it up. Somebody, and I'm going to say this too, that's very offensive to me, maybe not the rest of everybody up here, but it's offensive to me. We don't want the black kids down on the beach. Don't want black folks down on the beach. Call a spade a spade. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I'm going to call a spade and say it's a huge public safety issue. Numbers are going to speak for themselves. The numbers speak for themselves when it comes to felonies, crimes, assaults on police officers. It has nothing to do with race. Race is not, people want to, that's it. Something doesn't go their way, it's a racial issue. It's not a racial issue, but it's a public safety issue, number one. Number two, the process wasn't followed. We have laws. We have to, that's what laws are there for. The ordinances were not followed. Honestly, that's a spade. Let's say that. They were not followed, and this is why we're here today. They weren't followed. Plain and simple. If they would have been followed, we probably wouldn't be here today. So in the future, if there's an ordinance and there's a specific directions on how to do something, then we need to do it. Because if it's not done, then guess what? We're going to be right back here. That's why they're on paper. That's why we have them. Laws, regulations, ordinances. That's why we have them. They weren't followed. Back to my crime issue. Director Miller, by chance, and maybe you don't, do we have any statistics on crimes? And I'm going to just take some of the biggest events we have. Black Spring Break, Scraping the Coast, Cruising the Coast. Is there any crime statistics that we have?
There is. We do have those statistics.
Are we allowed, can we talk about them? Do you have any specifically, or is
We have them now. I mean, we can put them up on the screen if that's.
I would love to, and I don't want to take everybody's time. I know it's getting late, but I would love to see these because I'm going to tell you, I'm very confident in working this for 18 years that these numbers, hands down, are going to speak for themselves when it comes to crime. And I personally don't want crime in my neighborhood, and I'm positive that everybody sitting in this room doesn't want this kind of crime at your mama's house, at your kids, at your grandmama's house. Crime is crime. Let's be honest. You can lie to yourself if you want to, but I'm telling you, Director Miller, can we show these numbers?
Could I
And
make
if we can't, Director, don't worry about it. If we can't, if it's an issue, don't worry about it.
Could I make a comment to try to diffuse some of this? If I may, I want to make a comment. You know, the only thing that bothers me is, you know, we kind of beat up the promoter a little bit. I have to admit, we did do that. It bothers me because we wasn't talking about solving the issue. We were talking about, you know, what he did and what he didn't do. It's obvious what was done, and it was obvious what was not done. I remember when we were trying to get this thing together, I felt like some of the citizens should have been on that special events committee, and I cannot support it. I won't support it, the denial, because of that. I still think we should work with them. I still think that there's got to be a plan and got to be a way, because this is the first time that this is being implemented, and the first event. Yes, he did a lot of things wrong. He didn't go by the book at all. I've seen a lot of hiccups, but if the event is going to take place, we should look at ways to try to make it safe. And I understand the crime issue. I understand the passion that my Ward 7 councilmen have, because, you know, numbers are numbers, and I'm not going against the numbers. But if it's going to happen anyway, we have to look at the safest way that we can provide our kids and our youth when they come here. So we're going to have to look at it in that standpoint. So that's, I think we've beat this.
We did enough.
I'm going to say one more thing. I'm going to say one more thing, and that's all I'm going to say, and we can do whatever we want to do with it. I've got the numbers in my hand. These are facts, 100% facts that are factual. They're facts. Y'all get what I'm saying? I've said it 5 times, because these numbers don't lie. Facts don't lie. And I'm going to just bring these up real quick. And I'll just bring up Black Spring Break compared to cruising. All felonies, 175% higher during Black Spring Break. That's a problem. All felonies. Excuse me, ma'am, I'm talking. I'm giving some statistics here. Law enforcement assaults. This is assaults on the police officers. We don't have enough of them now as it is, and that's why people don't come here. The officers don't come here and work because they don't want to get involved in this. Let me go ahead and give you all this stat. Law enforcement assaults. Black Spring Break versus cruising. 164% higher assaults on police officers. I'm assuming everybody has an issue with that. And I'm going to give you my last stat, and I'm going to be quiet. Homicides and aggravated assaults. Spring Break versus cruising, 150% higher during Black Spring Break. Those numbers don't lie. That's all I'm going to say. Public safety issue on top of what I said earlier. Events, permits, processes. Go ahead, and I'm giving you facts. You want to see the facts? Right, I can show them to you.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Mr. Guines, I do agree with you. If the event is coming, we should work to help it. However, I think the denial is part of that helping the chief, because if there's a big issue, we have to cut down on what we can to help control it. That's how I'm looking at it. But obviously the event's coming. What can we do other than that? So go ahead. Anyone else before we close
I
it?
just think this is a measure to either overturn or approve the denial. All this other stuff requires additional dialogue and meetings, and for the community to come together to try to solve problems. But I think what's on the table now is this measure to either approve or overturn the denial.
Okay, go ahead, Mr. Deming.
The denial of what? And I don't know, like, and even the one that's been submitted, Chief, up top it says event route request. So it has in here these things that will be these applicant comments. Mississippi Black Spring Break will be beach events, club events, concerts, day events, food vendors, and car shows. So what exactly are we denying? And maybe Mr. Creel or Chief can help me out. I don't understand like what the request was for, because it's not a specific event, right? It's it's a route request. I just don't understand what we're denying. I know you guys denied it, and I don't want to spend another 2 hours going over that. I just don't know, if I vote to deny this, what am I actually denying? And if I vote to not deny it, what am I approving?
We know that there are going to be food vendors that are going to show up. We know that there are going to be, I think Mr. Bowling used the word panhandler. I think the word he was talking about was peddlers, because there are peddler licenses for the people that sell things other than food. I think one of the big mistakes was made here is that Mr. Bowling, I'm sorry if I didn't come in as a part of the original promotion application.
Yes.
Had he come in and addressed the parking problem in the beginning and showed us the site plan for how they were going to get parking in and out of that area, which we know parking's going to be an issue, I think that maybe that the outcome would have been a little bit more harmonious. But you can't divorce the event on the beach from what we know is going to be parking on somewhere on the north side of Highway 90, because there is no other place to park. Those places along Highway 90 are going to be filled up very quickly, but they're going to be parking somewhere, and that's going to have to be addressed. So
I understand that. I guess what my question is, when somebody puts an application in, they're asking for a privilege, right? What privilege is being requested? Is it specifically the right to have food vendors somewhere? What is the privilege that's being requested by this application?
all right, the person that is going to have the parking arrangement and the vendor locations would have to come in and get a vendor permit to operate. And then each of the individual vendors and peddlers that go in on that property, each has to have a separate license. So, we know that people are going to show up and set those things up, and if they don't have the proper license, we're going to have to go out there and address it. But see, all of that should have been handled in advance. That should have been handled as they went through the process. How is the Schuler property going to be set up? Where are the vendors going to be located? The ordinance says that the vendors now have to be at least 60 feet back from the property line so that there's room there for pedestrian traffic to move back and forth without forcing them out into Highway 90.
Okay. Could we enforce that still? Even regardless of this, if a food vendor set yourself aside from the permit and permission aspect, but if somebody were setting up, could we not still tell them to set up 60 feet from the edge?
Well, it's all going to depend on whether or not the council approves or disapproves this event. We can't issue.
Well, the chief's, in the commentary with Dr. Tisdale, the chief was nodding, and Dr. Tisdale was saying, we've got to have people out there, authorities out there, to tell these people, look, you can't set this up, right? So could we convert that from an absolute denial of get on out of here to, hey, just move back 60 feet and you'll be in compliance?
Well, the ordinance already says that.
Well, that's what I'm saying.
But the first step, though, is we've got to determine, is this going to be an approved event or not? If it's not going to be an approved event, we can't issue any licenses to anybody for it until that question is answered. So it's really going to depend on what the council does tonight as to whether or not we issue mobile food vending permits, permits for other uses, peddlers, and other things out there.
Chief, a couple things, it's the strain on your department that I have a problem with. I want to make sure that the event's going to happen. And so I'm trying to find a way that we can work harmoniously, right? How can we use your department and not overburden or strain your department and still allow this event to go on? How can we do, it's going to happen. How do we make it work?
If the procedures had been followed, it would be much less a problem for us, but they weren't followed. They weren't followed. You can't issue a permit to somebody to go out and have a mobile vending business if there's no event for them to set up for.
No, I agree and I respect that, but we're here now. And with regard to food vendors, I could foresee a future in which you tell food vendors to leave. The event will still go on, and that may free
Well,
up.
that's what we've done for every other event so far. That's exactly how we've handled it. We've followed the letter of the new ordinances. That's what we've done. We've gone out, we've made every other event uphold these new ordinances. And some of them have complained, moaned, groaned. We expected that. I felt bad about it sometimes, but the reality of it is we have to hold everybody to the same standard. And that's what we've done. That's what we've tried to do.
I don't have anything else.
Call for the question. All in favor of the denial? All against? 5-2. Moving on to Resolution H.
Resolution granting minor subdivision final plat approval for 2740 Pash Road.
Have a motion?
Ward 5.
Yes.
Motion by Mr. Glavin,
I'll second it.
seconded by Mr. Guines. Any discussion, Mr. Glavin? Mr. Guines?
None.
I have a little
Go ahead.
when you're ready.
Mr. Tisdale?
Jerry, I have some questions. This is a parcel that's adjacent to the west of the Community College Road that's now under construction, and it's 1.5 acres. It's going to be divided into 2 parcels. The southernmost parcel is going to be 1 acre fronting Pass Road. It already has a structure on site, I think, is that correct?
Yes, sir, it does.
And then that will leave the second parcel as a 1/2 acre adjacent to the north of that. Both parcels will retain their current zoning, is that correct?
That's correct, yes, sir.
Okay. Are there issues that are created with accessing the smaller parcel by way of the private road? By that I mean, in order to get to the smaller parcel, if anything is ever constructed there, you've got to go down the community college's road, which is still private at this point. I would assume at some point in the future, whenever they will likely come to us and I guess donate the road to us, and as long as it's met the city's construction requirements, typically cities accept that.
Yes.
But does this create issues with the development of that northernmost smaller parcel and access on a private road?
No, sir, according to Mr. Spender, he already has the college's approval to access to it. And what the ordinance says is that you either have to front a public road or have access to a public road, meaning that it could be done through the nature of an easement until the road is dedicated.
Okay. Do we have any idea when it's most likely that, you may not, when the community college is going to come to us? Typically, does that happen when roads are completed and they give it to the city, or?
It would have to be built to the city standards. Our city engineer would have to confirm that it was built to city standards, which are very strict. And then it would, if that is their request, it would be put on the council agenda for the council to consider accepting it or not.
And until that's accepted as a public road and the responsibility of the city, are city services for incidents on that private road affected? For example, maybe folks park on the shoulder of that road, or, I mean, can the city have that vehicle towed if it's a private road?
If it's a private road, no.
No.
Unless it's, like we've talked about in this other hearing, unless it's preventing some type of emergency access into it, then we would have the right to tow it.
Okay. I can't think of anything else, thank you.
Okay.
If we're back to that road, that belongs to somebody else. We have nothing to do with that private road. So how you connect yourself to a private road?
Well, we have people that connect themselves to private roads all the time. We've still got some roads in Wool Market where it's a private road. But this would be.
You have to connect to a public road, but that's a private road.
Yes, sir, but the ordinance says that you either have to front a public road or have access to a public road. And in this case, he would have to have an easement that says that he's got access to use that community college road in order to get to the public road, which is Pass Road.
Does he have an easement to do that?
He doesn't yet. All he's asking for is a zoning change, but he will have to have that before we can approve anything else. And this project will be coming back to the planning commission and the council because the use that he's proposing requires conditional use approval.
Thank
I
thank
think
you,
you
Mr.
have a
Brett.
problem there until you get some of that straight. I don't know how you're gonna approve that. But you said we overstepping our boundary on somebody else's road.
Yes.
Proposed subdivision proposes a 25-foot easement from
Four
Pass
owns
Road.
that, WC4 owns that property.
This solves the access issue.
That's his
Okay.
road.
He's actually showing that they have the easement. They have the easement on here to show that they have access to
Well, then you'll
the,
need, if you're gonna put this, then you probably need to table this to put all this together right.
No,
I don't even,
you want to
whoever.
respond to it? Yep.
Is it in there?
yes.
It is in there?
Yes, Jordan Matthews on behalf of the applicant. So the surveys that were submitted with the subdivision request include a 25-foot easement over parcel A to parcel B, which is access over the owner's property, which will be the resulting parcel A to Pass Road. So until such time that the College Road is dedicated to the city and we can get access to the College Road, we'll have permanent access over and across our parcel A to parcel B, just to for this exact, because we had that same concern, because we don't, obviously we have an agreement with the community college to have access off of their road, but until that's dedicated, we knew that you couldn't rely on that. So we've essentially given ourselves an easement over parcel A to parcel B until such time that road gets actually dedicated.
I mean, I don't know, Paul, I'd recommend that you table that where they put all this officially together.
But it's
To send it back to us.
it's already together, and
It
it's
is now, but we don't have that. It's not in here.
but
We're not voting on that. We can only vote what's written on these, right now.
but this is the application.
Yeah. The only thing that they're asking for right now is the zoning change.
No, a subdivision, a
I'm
minor
sorry, I'm
subdivision.
sorry.
Yeah,
The subdivision, it is zoned NB on both. And essentially, what he's got here is what they already have right now. I mean, this is all one piece of property, so they have access from the back piece of property through the front piece of property to get there. And so what Jordan did is just take that document. If this subdivision, this dividing of the property is approved, then he's showing an easement from the back lot to the front lot, which is what is typical.
Can you state your full name and who you work for?
Yeah, Jordan Matthews with the law firm Schwartz, Oracle, and Jordan, here on behalf of the landowner.
Okay.
And the survey that I'm mentioning is the application. So that the minor subdivision application, dividing this property into parcel A and parcel B, this is what we submitted to the city. So this isn't new information. And we did this specifically because we also had that concern. So the property owner has conveyed itself an easement to the back parcel, which will be the resulting parcel B once this is approved.
Just
Thank
one
you for
other
your
thing.
time.
Thank you.
Mr. Matthews?
Yes, sir.
Do your parents know where you are at this hour of the night? I just realized who you were. Thank you.
Thank y'all for your time.
You don't think you ought to do that, Paul? Just table it, put it all together and send it back next week?
I'm good with it.
You good with it? Okay, good.
Okay, all in favor?
It is.
Okay.
Unanimous vote with Deming out of the room. Let's move on to Resolution I.
Resolution granting minor subdivision final plat approval for 412 Bayard Street.
I'll move it.
Moved by Mr. Guines and seconded by Mr. Lawrence. Any discussion, Mr. Guines?
Hey, great. Growth in Ward 2.
All right, Mr. Lawrence?
I support Ward 2 Council.
All right, anyone else? All in favor? Unanimous votes.
Yeah.
Do I have a motion on the consent agenda?
I moved it.
I'll second.
Motion by Mr. Lawrence, seconded by Mr. Guines. Any discussion items, Mr. Lawrence?
Yeah, but I'll tell you what, it's late enough.
Praise God.
Whoa, I'll second that.
I'll find out.
I'm gonna second that real.
Ah! Mr. Guines?
I'll second, I'm done.
Praise God. Mr. Tisdale?
Just, Mike, I'd mentioned that the exhibits for item D and E were switched. Okay, but do we need to, can we attribute that or just note it as a Scrivener's error? It's just, it's been taken care of. Okay, that's all. No questions. Thank you.
Okay.
I have none.
All right, Mr. Shoemaker? All right, all in favor of the consent?
All right, everybody.
Unanimous vote with dimming out of the room. Any exceptions? No? No? No?
None.
No? All right. Moving on to code enforcement.
Item A, Ben E. and Kelly A. Beeson, 398 Acadian Court. That case has been resolved. Item B, James Marcus McLeod et al., 353 Bayview Avenue. That case has been resolved. Item C, Vin Nguyen, 402 Wisteria Lane. This property is still in violation.
Anyone here to speak on behalf of Vin Nguyen, 402 Wisteria Lane? If not, this case is closed.
Okay, item D, Son Van Tren, 220 Oak Street. That case has been resolved. Item E, Stephen Carl Brosh Jr., 334 Oak Street. This property is still in violation.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of Stephen Brosh Jr.? If not, this case is closed.
Item F, Stephen Carl Brosh Jr., 338 Oak Street. This property is still in violation.
Is there anyone here to speak on behalf of Gloria S. Powell Estates?
No, Stephen K. Brosh.
Oh, again.
Yeah, we had two.
Stephen, if not, case is closed.
Okay. Item G, Gloria S. Powell Estate, 433 Cabot Street. This property is still in violation.
Now, is there anyone to speak on behalf of Gloria S. Powell Estates? If not, this case is closed.
Okay.
Do I have a motion on the consent?
So moved.
Motion by Mr. Tisdale, second by Mr. Glavin. Any discussion, Mr. Lawrence?
Anything, we got any money? We supposed to have some checks from last time, so that's all right. Just give us a scoop next time. Thank you.
Okay, all in favor of the routine? Unanimous vote with dimming out of the room. Do I have a motion to adjourn? Motion by Mr. Guines,
Second.
seconded by everyone. All in favor?
Marathon.
George did.
Meeting adjourned.